Chapter 53-77. The fourth emissary stared at Lin Xian and said, "I'll kill this guy. You guys deal with the rest of the monkeys." Those hell demon statues also sneered and attacked again. Lin Xian's eyes burst out with a cold light. Previously he was delayed by others, so it was not too late for this battle. An extremely terrifying Nine Suns divine fire appeared on his body, and at the same time, the sword energy in his eyes erupted. The fourth emissary snorted and waved the folding fan in his hand. A monstrous black storm danced. It was like countless black blades condensed together, causing the entire world to shatter. Lin Xian let out a long roar and took the initiative to attack. He slashed out with his sword, and the long sword swept horizontally with the momentum to split the sky. It's useless against the black storm. My wind is formless, you can't break it at all. The fourth emissary sneered. However, just as he finished speaking, his face changed. Because Lin Xian's sword split the black storm into two halves, and his murderous aura was astonishing. A terrifying sword intent swept towards him. "You're courting death." The fourth emissary was furious. He clenched his hand into a claw and slapped it out. The huge claw covered the sky and earth like the devil's hand, grabbing towards Lin Xian. There was an astonishingly miserable sound from above. Lin Xian shouted coldly, and his sword energy soared into the sky. With a slash of his sword, he shattered everything. Even the palm was split open. The fourth emissary retracted his hand, and blood dripped from it. His expression was extremely ferocious. "Damn it!" He waved his blood-stained hand on his folding fan. In the next moment, a terrifying blood dragon flew out. The blood dragon danced in the air with a monstrous murderous aura. Not only that, the fourth emissary's folding fan kept waving, and his blood drew beasts one after another on it. In the blink of an eye, 32 beasts covered the sky and earth. These 32 beasts were completely condensed from blood, and they also had an inextinguishable fighting spirit. They had turned into strange living beings. They seemed to have crossed the ancient time and space, releasing a terrifying aura. Seeing this, the Hell Golem and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. This person was too terrifying, and his identity was definitely shocking. Even the spirit monkey and the others were shocked. They had to go all out against the hell demon statues. There was no way he could help Lin Xian. "Young Master Lin, you have to be careful." There were still some people around. They had originally wanted to take advantage of the situation, but now, they were torn to pieces by the 32 demonic beasts that had appeared. Those people felt their scalps go numb as they quickly fled. Lin Xian looked around at the huge figures one after another. His expression became extremely solemn. His right Rinnegan bloomed with the power of samsara. Using the heavenly Tao of reincarnation, he unleashed a terrifying eye technique. A Rinnegan appeared in the sky, and a palm stretched out from it, a palm carrying supreme divine might. It fell mercilessly. With a single palm strike, it was as though it was the hand of Armageddon. The terrifying palm strike enveloped one of the demonic beasts. That blood-colored demonic beast roared out in rage. It wanted to resist, but it was torn into pieces in an instant. A rain of blood fell from the sky. Boom, boom. The world-exterminating palm continued to descend, and the demonic beasts fell one after another. The expression of the fourth emissary was cold. "Kill." Following his roar, the remaining dozen or so demonic beasts covered the sky and covered the earth as they charged over. At the same time, he also quickly attacked. He waved the folding fan in his hand again, and a sharp black blade shot out like a scythe of death. Lin Xian's expression was cold. At this moment, the demonic chi on his body also appeared. He had turned into a demon god. The great spear of destruction in his hand carried an aura of destruction. It pierced through 7 demonic beasts in one strike. 7 demonic beasts blood-stained the sky. Lin Xian formed a seal with his palms. The demon god seal attacked the fourth emissary. With a clang, it engaged in a fierce battle with the fourth emissary. Lin Xian was using the great emperor's secret techniques, while the fourth emissary was using the supreme secret techniques of Mount Eternal. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. The surrounding people retreated far away. The 32 demonic beasts had all been destroyed, and now only Lin Xian was left. There was also the fourth emissary. The two of them were like lightning. Every time they collided, a huge crack would appear in the sky. Cloud rubbing hand. Void god finger. At this moment, Lin Xian stretched out both hands. His right hand turned into a demonic cloud, which was abnormally ethereal. His left hand pointed out with his fingers like a sword. Both of them were strange divine abilities. They sent the fourth emissary flying. Half of the fourth emissary's face was shattered. It was pierced through by the void god finger. At the same time, his legs were also torn to pieces by the demonic cloud hand. It was abnormally miserable. Seeing this scene, the Hell Golem and the others' expressions changed. The fourth emissary roared angrily. How dare you hurt me? Kid, you've angered me. The undying good power appeared on his body, and his broken body healed again. At the same time, he spat a mouthful of blood on the folding fan in his hand. On the folding fan, extremely terrifying blood-red runes bloomed. It seemed that something was about to appear. Lin Xian's expression was also solemn. He felt a sense of danger. However, at this moment, the thousand-eyed stone golem suddenly charged out from the shattered mountain peak in the distance. He attacked the fourth emissary from behind. The fourth emissary did not expect it at all, and was instantly sent flying. 2 bloody holes appeared on his back. His bones were also shattered. He was even more miserable. He fell to the ground below and roared crazily. His broken body healed again. The thousand-eyed stone golem also frowned. The undying power. Your origin is indeed extraordinary. You should be from Mount Eternal. Damn it. You know my identity and you still dare to attack me? The fourth emissary rose into the air and roared crazily. The thousand-eyed stone golem snorted coldly. So what if you're from Mount Eternal? This is not your territory. This is the extreme path world. After saying that, he no longer paid attention to the fourth emissary. Instead, he stared at Lin Xian. His eyes bloomed with a biting cold light. Who are you? To be able to fight on par with him and even injure him. This proves that you're even more powerful. The divine ability you use should be several top inheritance lost skills. You actually know them all. The thousand-eyed stone golem was even more surprised. Indeed, some of Lin Xian's methods shocked him. It was even extremely similar to some of the methods in the legends. This was also the reason why he did not dare to attack Lin Xian, but chose to attack the fourth emissary. He felt that Lin Xian was a little unfathomable. Lin Xian snorted coldly and did not answer. Now that this guy had appeared again, it was very troublesome. At this time, the slanted moon cave changed again. A figure walked out from the slanted moon cave. Did another treasure appear? Countless people turned their heads to look. However, when they saw it, they were stunned. Even Lin Xian was stunned. The person who walked out of the slanted moon cave was actually a figure. And it was a cute little girl. Ling Shan. Lin Xian was stunned. How did the other party come out of the slanted moon cave? Ling Yu and the rest of the spirit monkey clan's faces changed. Sister, quickly go in. Ling Yu exclaimed. Ling Shan rubbed her eyes with her small hands. She looked as if she had just woken up and did not understand what was going on. As for the fourth emissary, the thousand-eyed stone golem and the leader of the hell golems, they turned into lightning and quickly attacked him. Chapter 5378. Not good. Ling Yu's expression changed, and he quickly rushed over. With a sword strike with all his strength, he blocked the hell golem leader. But he was still forced back, his blood and chi tumbling. As for the other two, he couldn't block them at all. But at this time, a figure appeared in front of him. It was Lin Xian. An earth-shattering collision sounded, and the sky fell and the earth cracked. The fourth emissary and the thousand-eyed stone golem were all blocked. Meanwhile, a figure retreated, shattering the void with a stomp. He actually blocked it. The fourth emissary frowned, but the thousand-eyed stone golem was surprised. He looked at Lin Xian, feeling incredulous. Lin Xian's right hand was beaten out of shape. At this moment, it was making crackling sounds and quickly recovering. A physique of the purest yang, the legendary 9-yang divine physique? I didn't expect you to have cultivated such a physique. No wonder you can block my attack. The thousand eyes on the thousand-eyed stone golem's body bloomed with light, staring at Lin Xian. He recognized Lin Xian's physique. Only this legendary starry sky physique could contend with him in close combat. Otherwise, if it were any other divine ancestor, they would have been beaten into a bloody mist. The 9-yang divine physique is not bad, but it is not the strongest physique in the world. And you don't have the 9-yang divine physique. You are still far from being able to defeat me. The 1,000-eyed stone golem sneered, and the 1,000 eyes bloomed with light. Some turned into mountains, some turned into terrifying flames, some turned into lightning, and some turned into saber light and sword shadows. 1,000 types of divine abilities erupted from the 1,000 eyes. How terrifying was this absolute art! Lin Xian was also facing a great enemy. He didn't dare to be careless. He used the Rinnegan to the extreme. 6 paths of reincarnation, 6 illusory worlds kept spinning. One eye bloomed with a biting cold light. A fierce collision sounded, and Lin Xian was forced back again. The 1,000-eyed stone golem was even more shocked. He stared at Lin Xian, his face full of shock. Your eyes. He was too shocked. His 1,000 eyes couldn't beat one of the other party's eyes. Lin Xian's blood boiled, but the corners of his mouth soon curled up. You're just so. What an arrogant brat. The 1,000-leaf stone golem's eyes shone with a cold light. He stared at Lin Xian's right eye. The power of samsara. Could it be the legendary Rinnegan? You even got this pair of eyes? He was too shocked. At the same time, a cold light burst out from his eyes. It seems that other than the page of the heavenly book, I can also obtain another type of god eye. If I kill you and take your eyes, my eye technique will become even more terrifying. On the other side, the 4th envoy also walked over. He was ready to attack again. Lin Xian was in a very dangerous situation. Fighting 1 against 2, he would most likely be suppressed. After all, the 1,000-eyed stone golem was too terrifying. Previously, he had been able to hold his own against so many terrifying experts. Lin Xian would have to use some super trump cards. However, in this extreme Dao world, he was unable to use those ultimate trump cards. At this time, Little White flew out again and yawned. Then he flew into the slanted moon cave again. Obviously, he wanted to look for treasures again. At this time, the 1,000-eyed stone golem shouted coldly, "Damn monkey!" Previously, it was this monkey that caused the changes when he went in. He would not let him go in again. A gaze shot towards Little White. Little White's figure swayed and dodged. In the next moment, he was angry. I'm angry. At this moment, his body actually rushed out and directly sent the 1,000-eyed stone golem flying. The 1,000-eyed stone golem was stunned. Where did a little monkey get such power from? However, in the next moment, they were dumbfounded because they found that there was a little monkey there. Little White's body changed at this moment. He became an indomitable divine ape. With a raise of his hand, he could shatter everything. Lin Xian was also shocked. He had seen the mighty miracle god of the heavenly court, but he found that the aura on Little White's body was even more terrifying than that mighty miracle god. What was going on? Could it be because he ate the Bodhi fruit? Lin Xian was surprised. He looked at Ling Yu, who was next to him. Ling Yu was also surprised. She said that she did not know, but young master's friend had an extraordinary bloodline. He was also a rare beast in the monkey tribe, and it was very likely that he was one of the legendary ones. As for which one, they did not know. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Little White's change should only be good and not bad. Moreover, he found that not only did Little White change, but Ling Shan, who was in the slanted moon cave, also changed. A mysterious rune suddenly appeared between her eyebrows. It was like a page of an ancient book that kept floating. At the same time, the rune's radiance had a mysterious connection with Little White. Could it be because of this rune that Little White underwent such a change? He was too shocked. The 1,000-eyed stone golem's eyes exploded with a cold light. He stared at the page of the ancient book. What did a page of the heavenly book really exist? This was a page of the heavenly book. The Hell Golem, the 4th emissary, and the others were also shocked. Lin Xian was also shocked. The people of the spirit monkey tribe were also stunned. They did not understand why such a change would happen. Attack. The 4th emissary roared angrily and attacked with all his strength. However, he was stopped by Lin Xian. On the other side, the 1,000-eyed stone golem laughed loudly. Thousands of eyes exploded with light. He must snatch a page of the heavenly book. Little White roared angrily. He waved his claws and slapped down like a god's claw. Even the thousand-eyed stone golem was sent flying by this force. He was so angry that his blood was boiling. Despicable monkey, you dare to block my path? You have completely angered me. Thousands of eyes exploded with an extremely terrifying light. All kinds of ultimate skills flew out, and the killing intent was shocking. However, the current Little White had undergone a magical change. Under the power of a page of the heavenly book, he had turned into a divine ape. Every attack carried supreme divine power. For a moment, the thousand-eyed stone golem roared crazily. He could not suppress the other party. Seeing that Little White was not in danger, Lin Xian also breathed a sigh of relief. He turned his head to look at the fourth emissary. Now it's time to end this with you. I have the same intention. The fourth emissary's eyes exploded with a cold killing intent. Between the two sides, only one person could continue. The other person would be eliminated. Kill. The fourth emissary roared angrily. The 32 immemorial beasts that were previously destroyed were revived by the indestructible power. Then the 32 demonic beasts fused into one demonic beast, which rushed over. With supreme power, it charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt crackling sounds coming from his body. This also made him feel pressured. However, he snorted coldly. He turned into a demon god and held the great destruction in his hand. He struck out with a blow. Chapter 53-79. This peerless attack pierced through 32 demonic beasts, shattering them into pieces. Then, Lin Xian threw out another punch. It was the Devil God Fist. The demonic energy was vast and terrifying, and the fourth emissary kept retreating. The fourth emissary shouted angrily. He waved his fan, and another heaven and earth phenomenon flew out from it. It rushed towards Lin Xian, and collided with Lin Xian's palm. A sonorous sound rang out. At this time, Lin Xian suddenly used Rinnegan and launched a soul attack. The fourth emissary's soul was injured. He screamed. The next moment he would punch out, and he would be injured again. Damn it, he didn't expect that he couldn't beat Lin Xian. But he wouldn't give up. He rushed over again, and the two of them kept fighting. In the blink of an eye, thousands of moves had passed. The fourth emissary's face became extremely ugly. He bit his finger and drew a strange arc. Its speed was very slow, and it seemed very simple. His entire arm kept popping out. It was covered with cracks. It was obvious that he had used a power that exceeded his own. It was a simple move, but a terrifying power spread out. It seemed to have crossed the torrent of time. Feeling this power, everyone's face changed. Lin Xian's pupils also shrank. The other party still had such a method. He wouldn't allow the other party to use it. His figure flashed, and Lin Xian instantly appeared in front of the other party. Behind him, the phantom of the demon god appeared. He held the demon god seal in his hand and slapped forward. No, damn it, you can't do this to me. The fourth emissary roared crazily. He hadn't used his ultimate move yet. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You're too slow. As he said that, the phantom behind him cooperated with the demon god seal, and directly blasted on the fan. The fan was sent flying. The fourth emissary spat out blood. His body instantly turned into light. He was torn into a bloody mist. The protective jade pendant on his body exploded. He turned into a white light and was eliminated. No. How could this be? The people of the Hell Golem statue roared crazily. They really didn't expect that the fourth emissary they relied on would disappear. On the other hand, the spiritual monkeys heaved a sigh of relief. They all smiled. That's great. Young Master Lin is indeed powerful to be able to defeat such a terrifying enemy. Outside, after the fourth emissary was eliminated, it caused another round of exclamations. When they found out that it was Lin Wudi again, the expressions on their faces were very interesting. Some people exclaimed in surprise, while others were horrified. The people of Mount Eternal were incomparably furious. Outside the extreme path world, there was an uproar as people discussed animatedly. Lin Xian didn't know about all of this. This was because the current crisis had yet to be resolved. Although they had killed the fourth emissary, there was still the thousand-eyed stone golem. The thousand-eyed golem was shocked as well. He had ambushed the fourth emissary before. However, the other party's regenerative ability surprised him as well. Now that someone with such terrifying recovery ability had been eliminated, how could he not be shocked? In addition, this little white monkey in front of him was really too strange. He shouted angrily. Damn it! Another eye appeared between his eyebrows. It was the 1001st eye. Buzz. The eye emitted a destructive light like a heavenly blade that instantly flew out. Little White roared angrily and slapped out with its claws to block. However, this time, its claws were sent flying, and its huge body kept retreating until it crashed into a mountain beside it. One could only imagine how shocking that gaze was. Even Lin Xian felt his hair stand on end. This 1001st eye was too extraordinary. At this moment, the eye once again shot out a gaze. It charged towards the oblique moon cave. Its target was Ling Shan inside. Not good. Lin Xian exclaimed. He wanted to make a move, but it was too late. This attack hit Ling Shan's body. However, what shocked everyone was that a page of an ancient book flew out from between Ling Shan's eyebrows. As it spun, it seemed to turn into a heavenly map. It blocked this gaze. Damn it. The thousand-eyed golem's expression changed, but at the same time his eyes turned red. It was definitely a treasure. He rushed over, wanting to snatch the page of the heavenly book. You won't have the chance. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He rushed over. The demon god seal formed a mountain, blocking the golem's path. Get out of my way. The thousand-eyed golem roared, and thousands of eyes exploded together. The demon god seal was sent flying. Little White charged over, but was sent flying by the 1001st eye. This time, Little White's body shrank, and returned to its original size. He waved his claws anxiously. Lin Xian's brows were tightly knitted together. The thousand-eyed stone man was simply too powerful. It was already terrifying, and now that it had opened its 1001st eye, it was difficult to suppress the opponent. His great emperor super ability was sent flying by the opponent. The opponent was getting closer and closer to the oblique moon cave. If the opponent really got the page of the heavenly book, it would be dangerous. Thinking of this, Lin Xian snorted and rushed over. Useless kid, the thousand-eyed golem sneered. Although you are strong, you are still not my opponent. After using his super trump card, the thousand-eyed golem became extremely confident. Lin Xian did not say a word. He snorted coldly. Suddenly, endless light rushed out from his body, forming a monstrous sword Dao world, turning into a sea of sword chi fire. In the next moment, Lin Xian opened the sword world and swallowed the opponent. When the thousand-eyed golem felt the nine-yang divine fire and sword chi, he snorted coldly. I told you you are not my opponent at all. However, all of a sudden, he felt that the flames around him had disappeared. Instead, the sky and earth were spinning. In the next moment, he found that he had arrived in another world. The desolate aura and the mysterious pressure caused his expression to change. Where is this? Kid. Where have you taken me? He roared crazily, because he felt that the pressure here was even more terrifying than the extreme Dao world. This is the place where you will die. Lin Xian also walked in, and snorted coldly. Stupid kid. Do you really think that you can fight me by bringing me to such a mysterious space? Then even if my strength is suppressed, it is not something you can imagine. At this point, the 1001st eye between his eyebrows erupted again, and a peerless light flew out. Lin Xian roared angrily and quickly dodged. With a clang, he was forced back. His arm was numb and cracks appeared on it. Ha 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 ha. Did you see that? You are not my opponent at all. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and used the immortal indestructible attack to repair his broken arm. A sharp light burst out from his eyes. Is that so? Why don't you try my swordsmanship? He waved Hellfire and Dragon Sword, and a terrifying dragon roar sounded. This sword turned into a heaven-shaking divine sword. When the sword slashed out, it was unpredictable, and there was a terrifying dragon shadow circling between heaven and earth. The thousand-eyed golem was originally disdainful, but when he felt the power of this sword, his expression changed. With a boom, he was sent flying. The thousands of eyes on his body seemed to be shaking at this moment. Chapter 5380. The thousand-eyed stoneman roared crazily. He felt pain. At the same time, his face was filled with fear. Damn it, how was this possible? Why was the other party's sword chi so much more terrifying than before? It could actually hurt him. What kind of sword chi was this? Lin Xian laughed. He forgot to tell you, other than being the successor of the 9 sons, I am also the successor of the great dragon sword. So next, feel the power of the dragon sword. Lin Xian shouted coldly and attacked again. In the extreme path world, Lin Xian was also suppressed by the power of the extreme path. In the sword world, this suppression became very small. Therefore, his strength became even stronger than before, and at this moment he attacked with all his might. What? It was actually the great dragon sword. The thousand-eyed stoneman was also shocked. He naturally knew how terrifying the great dragon sword was. He roared angrily, "Go to hell!" He rushed over crazily, and thousands of eyes erupted with terrifying power. Terrifying thunder, terrifying flames, forests, mountains, and all kinds of divine abilities pounced over. However, all of this was split apart by Lin Xian. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into a peerless sword god, powerful to the extreme. His sword became the only thing between heaven and earth. Puff! Another sword slashed across the sky, carrying an extremely strong killing intent. This was the Azura sword technique. It directly sent the thousand-eyed stoneman flying backwards. One of the eyes on his body closed and blood kept dripping. Damn it! The thousand-eyed stoneman roared and attacked again. However, the returning to origin sword caused another eye to close. The 9-star sword technique once again achieved its effect. Lin Xian swept through the world. After a few moves, many of the thousand-eyed stoneman's eyes were bleeding. He had no choice but to close them. Damn it! Eye of Destruction. He could only activate the 1001st eye with all his might. The 1001st eye between his eyebrows bloomed with a terrifying light. At this moment, the surrounding void emitted a thunderous sound. In the next moment, this gaze flew out. Lin Xian's pupils also constricted. He naturally did not dare to be careless. Behind him, the demonic summoning scripture formed a demonic shadow that exploded with immense power. Lin Xian held the infernal sword in his hand, and had the power to split the heavens. The demonic shadow behind him also raised its arm. It provided him with great power. This sword collided with the other party's Eye of Destruction, and an earth-shattering sound rang out. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts descended, and both sides were forced to retreat. Damn it, how is this possible? You actually blocked it. The Millennium Stoneman roared crazily. Not only that, he discovered that an even more terrifying dragon roar came from Lin Xian's body. At this moment, its Eye of Destruction was broken, and he was sent flying while vomiting blood. Damn it! He turned around and fled, wishing to tear apart the void. Lin Xian snorted coldly and didn't give chase. Seeing the thousand-eyed stone golem flee into the distance, he let out an even more terrified cry. No, damn it, how is this possible? Where was this? As if he had encountered the most terrifying thing, he flew back from the barren land. At this moment, his entire body was trembling. How could it be so terrifying? Damn brat, where the hell is this place? He was too terrified. The Hellfire Dragon rushed over and sneered. It was actually a stoneman, a holy spirit race? However, if you want to run wild in this world, I'm afraid you're too naive. Damn it! The thousand-eyed stone golem gritted his teeth. Indeed, he originally thought that this world could only suppress his power. However, when he ran even further away, he felt a fatal danger. It was as if there was a mysterious power that could tear him to pieces. He retreated in fear, bewildered and uncertain. At this time, another Hellfire Dragon appeared, and actually saw through his origin with a single glance. He was indeed a stoneman, but the stoneman had an even more terrifying name in the myriad worlds, and that was the Holy Spirit race. However, this name was very ancient, and not many people knew about it now. However, this Hellfire Dragon knew, and it was obviously an old monster from countless years ago. Damn it, he couldn't wait any longer, he had to end this quickly. He charged towards Lin Xian again. At this moment, the thousands of eyes on his body all closed. However, the 1001st eye between his eyebrows suddenly opened, and released an extremely terrifying light. Mysterious runes appeared around him, and an ancient voice sounded. A terrifying and mysterious power appeared. Lin Xian's expression changed. Did the thousand-eyed stone golem have an even more powerful trump card? What kind of power was this? It was extremely ancient. Brat, to be able to make me use this move, you can die in peace. The thousand-eyed stone golem roared, and the 1001st eye exploded along with the mysterious power. A bright light instantly pierced through the void, and at this moment, the world lost its light. Even the thousand-eyed stone golem's body swayed, and after this light, the 1001st eye closed. The 1001st eye instantly closed. One could imagine how terrifying this power was. The Hellfire Dragon also exclaimed, "Holy Spirit Annihilation Eye, this guy has actually cultivated it to such a level? Brat, you have to be careful. This is an extremely terrifying power between heaven and earth." Boom boom. In the next moment, the place where Lin Xian was at was completely hit, and in an instant, countless rays of light engulfed the place completely. The terrifying aura was enough to tear any saint venerable into pieces. The thousand-eyed stone golem laughed loudly. What's the use of reminding him? He can't dodge at all. This is the strongest eye. This brat is dead. His Rinnegan and Dragon Sword inheritance are all mine. The thousand-eyed stone golem was very happy. Although it had an extraordinary origin, it was also very jealous of the Rinnegan and Dragon Sword. If it could get it, who would be its opponent in the future? However, at this moment, a voice came from the front. Your power is indeed terrifying, but it's not possible for you to kill me. What? You're still alive? Impossible. The thousand-eyed stone golem's pupils shrank. It was really crazy. The other party definitely couldn't block that attack. Illusion, this must be an illusion. However, it realized that a black vortex suddenly appeared in the terrifying energy in front of it. And then it kept spinning. Everything was swallowed up by it. In the vortex, a figure walked out. It was Lin Xian. In Lin Xian's hand, there was a black jar that was floating up and down. There was a mysterious face on it that made one's scalp tingle. The black vortex, the terrifying jar, the thousand-eyed stone golem was also stunned. In the next moment, it let out a mournful roar. Heaven-swallowing jar. Extreme weapon, you actually have an extreme weapon? It was as if it had seen the most unbelievable thing. It turned and ran. However, it was useless. The terrifying power in the distance made it dare not run at all. It could only continuously attack the void above, trying to shatter this world. Shattering the void to escape. However, how could it open the sword world? After a series of attacks, the thousand-eyed stone golem went crazy. The entire sky was terrifyingly quiet. All its attacks were futile. As if it felt despair, the thousand-eyed stone golem turned its head. Its thousand eyes were filled with fear. Chapter 5381. The extreme Dao world was formed by the condensation of several extreme Dao weapons. They would definitely not allow other extreme Dao weapons to enter. For example, the Great Emperor clan, Gu clan, Qilin clan, Kuanpeng clan, and others were unable to bring extreme weapons in. Moreover, no one had ever succeeded in bringing them in. Therefore, at this moment, the thousand-eyed stone man was so shocked when he saw Lin Xian could use extreme weapons. How did he bring them in? Lin Xian sneered. Idiot. In the extreme Dao world, I naturally wouldn't be able to use extreme Dao weapons. However, this isn't the extreme path world. This is my world. In this world, I'm the king. Naturally, I can use extreme weapons. What? Your world? The thousand-eyed stone man was completely stunned after hearing this. The other party actually had such a strange world. It was too unbelievable. Moreover, this world could be carried around. More importantly, it could resist the influence of the extreme path world. What kind of world was this? Thinking of this, his face became incomparably ugly. He said, "Young hero, stop. I think there's some misunderstanding between us. I'm not targeting you. I just want to get the treasure. Now I don't want the treasure anymore. Let me go. How about it? We can actually be friends." He was actually begging for mercy now. If others saw this scene here, they would definitely be stunned. How terrifying was the thousand-eyed stone man. Previously, when he was surrounded by countless experts, he could still deal with it calmly. Now he was actually begging for mercy in front of Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian sneered. Oh, you're going to beg for mercy? Why didn't you beg for mercy before? If I didn't take out these trump cards, I would have been killed by you. Do you think begging is useful? Lin Xian held the heaven-devouring jar and walked forward. An extremely cold killing intent appeared on his body. The thousand-eyed stone man gritted his teeth. Damn it, he was no match for him at all. He couldn't tear this world apart. He was no match for the heaven-devouring jar. Therefore, he could only lower his head and beg for mercy. Impossible, because you know my secret. I won't let you go out alive. Lin Xian shook his head. I swear on my heart of the great Tao, I will never tell your secret. The thousand-eyed stone golem said quickly. However, it was useless. He saw that Lin Xian had already raised the heaven-swallowing jar. An extremely terrifying aura of the extreme path emanated from it. If the sky-devouring crown were to unleash its full power, he would not be able to withstand it. No. The vortex that dared to be devoured had already charged out, and was roaring madly. You can't kill me. If you kill me, you won't be able to obtain the most important treasure of the slanting moon cave. Hearing this, the black vortex stopped. Lin Xian frowned and asked, What do you mean? The thousand-eyed golem smiled. He knew that his words had attracted the other party's attention. If you don't kill me, I'll tell you a secret. I don't need to know. The one-page heavenly book in the slanting moon cave is enough. I can leave once I get it. As for your secret, you can take it to hell. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and continued to activate the heaven-swallowing jar. The thousand-eyed golem roared madly. Damn it, he did not expect the other party to be so decisive and not give him any chance. He roared. I'll tell you a secret. Don't attack first. Lin Xian stopped and snorted. That depends on whether your secret is important or not. If it's useless to me, I'll kill you without mercy. The thousand-eyed golem could only say that it was extremely important. And that treasure might be even more important than the one-page heavenly book. If you don't believe me, you can go and try after hearing it. If there's no treasure, it won't be too late for you to come back and kill me. Alright, tell me. Lin Xian nodded. He wanted to see what the other party had to say. The thousand-eyed golem said, I've entered the slanting moon cave once. I discovered that other than the one-page heavenly book, there was something else. The aura emitted from it was even more mysterious than the one-page heavenly book. What was it exactly? Lin Xian asked. The thousand-eyed golem shook his head. I don't know. Lin Xian laughed. If there was such a good thing, why didn't you take it away when you went in? The thousand-eyed golem gritted his teeth and said, I don't have that ability. Otherwise I would have taken it away long ago. If you didn't have an extreme Tao weapon, I wouldn't have told you this secret. Only you can take it away. Lin Xian's eyes flickered when he heard that. He said, You better not lie to me, or else I will make you wish you were dead. The thousand-eyed golem said, You can suppress me first, then go and snatch the treasure. If you succeed, you can let me go. If you don't succeed, you can settle the score with me. Lin Xian snorted after hearing that, and immediately released a terrifying devouring vortex to suppress it. In the next moment he walked out of the sword world. After he left, inside the black vortex in the sword world, the thousand-eyed golem laughed. He was extremely pleased with himself. Foolish human, that thing is not something you can obtain. I'll lure you there and use that power to kill you. At that time, when you die, this mysterious world and the extreme weapons will become ownerless. I can get it. He was too happy. After Lin Xian walked out, he realized that the battle was still going on. He attacked and killed a few of the Hell Devil statues, while the others fled in fear. Heavens, the other party actually came out alive. This was too unbelievable. Could it be that the thousand-eyed golem was killed? Damn it, how could it be like this? The leader of the Hell Golem was terrified. It was too terrifying. How terrifying was the thousand-eyed golem, but it was still unable to do anything to this human. Run quickly. They turned into lightning and quickly fled. The people of the spirit monkey race were overjoyed. Great, young Master Lin, you came out. They were incomparably happy. When the two of them disappeared together, they started to worry. Could Lin Xian really beat the thousand-eyed golem? In their eyes, it was impossible. But now Lin Xian had walked out safely. How could they not be happy? Don't worry, I've already taken care of that guy. You're safe, Lin Xian said. This is great. Ling Yu and the rest all laughed. But at this moment, the oblique moon cave emitted a ray of light. Little White flew over and realized that it couldn't help the other party. It was so anxious that it stomped its feet. Ling Yu and the rest even soared into the air. Sister, how are you? They were extremely nervous. At this moment, Ling Shan's eyes were a little empty. Only the rune between her eyebrows was flickering with an extremely terrifying light. Young Master Lin, can you save my sister? Ling Shan and the others were crazy with anxiety. Those spirit monkeys also said one after another, asking young Master Lin to help. Lin Xian said, "Don't worry, let me take a look." He used Rinnegan to investigate. Suddenly, the mysterious rune between Ling Shan's eyebrows bloomed with a terrifying light, as if it could destroy everything. Lin Xian closed his left eye and only used his right eye Rinnegan. He used the power of reincarnation to the extreme. Only by spinning continuously did he manage to resist the light. Chapter 5382. There was only one mysterious rune, but it was pulsating nonstop. It was this power that suppressed Ling Shan's soul, causing her eyes to become empty. In the past, she would often fall into a deep sleep. Lin Xian said, "How long has Ling Shan been in this state?" Ling Yue said, "My sister was playful when she was young. She once sneaked into the oblique moon cave. When she came out again, she would often fall into a deep sleep. Sometimes, her eyes would be empty as if she had lost her soul." Lin Xian took a deep breath. He felt that it was similar to what she had guessed. He said, "Don't worry. This rune should be an ancient rune from the Heavenly Book." Ling Shan should have seen a page of the Heavenly Book in the oblique moon cave when she was young and even obtained a rune from it. However, the power of this rune was too great. Ling Shan couldn't resist it at all. She couldn't accept it, so her soul was suppressed and would often fall into a deep sleep. What should they do? Ling Yue and the others were anxious. Although this rune was mysterious, it was very likely to take Ling Shan's life. Lin Xian said, "If this rune was separated from Ling Shan, it should be fine." As he said that, his Rinnegan bloomed and formed a hand of the heavenly Tao, grabbing at the rune. He wanted to grab the rune. However, the heavenly Tao rune had a terrifying light. Ling Shan also shook her head in pain. "Sister, how are you?" Ling Yue was anxious. Lin Xian also retracted his hand. He said no. This rune had probably merged with Ling Shan and couldn't be separated. Little White also jumped over and said, "Can't you save her? Young Master Lin, please save her." They now knew that Lin Xian was extremely powerful. He could even defeat the thousand-eyed stone man. Maybe he had a way to save Ling Shan. Lin Xian said, "I have an idea. Maybe only by finding the real page of the Heavenly Book can we save Ling Shan. How about this? I'll bring her in to look for it." "Let's go in too," the surrounding spirit monkeys said. Ling Yue shook her head. "No, we have an ancestral rule. We can't enter the oblique moon cave. Young Master Lin, you go in. Bring Ling Shan in and see if there's a way. We'll wait outside." Lin Xian waved his hand and led Little White and Ling Shan into the slanting moon cave. The spirit monkeys outside were anxious. "Do you think young Master Lin can succeed? We can only believe in him and wait here." The entrance to the oblique moon cave was very small. However, the deeper they went, the wider it became. It was as if they had entered another world. After walking for an unknown period of time, the surroundings seemed to be shrouded in darkness. Only the sound of Lin Xian's footsteps could be heard. Just like that, he continued walking. Finally, light appeared in front of him, and he could even hear the sound of a waterfall. A waterfall appeared in front of him. It was like the Milky Way, falling from the 9 heavens. He had no idea where it came from. Lin Xian led Little White and Ling Shan through the waterfall, and discovered that there was another world on the other side of the waterfall. There was an ancient tree there. It was extremely ancient, and had experienced countless years, causing Lin Xian to think of the ancient trees in the Sword World. However, the ancient tree in the Sword World had already withered, while the ancient tree in front of him was still growing. especially when Lin Xian saw the fruits on the ancient tree. His pupils constricted. Bodhi ancient tree. It was actually a Bodhi tree. With a so sound, Little White flew over and used its little claws to grab the Bodhi fruit. Because this thing was extremely precious, it was a top-notch treasure of heaven and earth. However, in the next moment, it was bounced back. The Bodhi tree's body carried an incomparably mysterious power of law, blocking everything. Little White was extremely vexed at being sent flying, and kept waving its little claws. He was fuming. Lin Xian said, "Don't act rashly." He looked around carefully and discovered the Bodhi tree. There was a stone platform below, and a figure was sitting cross-legged on top of it. With his back facing them, he faced the Bodhi tree. The moment that figure appeared, Lin Xian's pupils constricted. Even Little White squeaked, as if he was facing a great enemy. This figure was actually very similar to the thousand-eyed stone man. It was actually a stone man. However, the only difference was that the other party did not have 1,000 eyes on his body, and he even had a stone tail behind him. Was this a monkey? Seeing this scene, Lin Xian immediately thought of Little White. Also the spirit monkey on the Monkey Mountain, because it was really too similar. Little White also had a puzzled look on its face, and it jumped over with a squeak. He directly jumped onto the stone man's body, then turned his head to take a closer look. In the next moment he exclaimed, "Are you really a monkey?" Lin Xian was shocked. This was actually a stone monkey. He was really too surprised. He also walked forward and found that the stone man was sitting cross-legged there, his hands forming seals. One hand pointed to the sky, the other to the ground. It seemed to be cultivating, but there was no aura of life on its body. However, there was an incomparable divine power in its body. When Lin Xian approached, he felt as if he was facing a great enemy, as if this was a sleeping primordial beast. It was as if he was facing an extreme weapon that was in deep slumber. Lin Xian's expression changed, and he quickly grabbed Little White, saying, "Don't be rude. Senior, we accidentally came here and disturbed you, please forgive us." Lin Xian bowed respectfully. Slanted Moon Cave, and it was a stone monkey. It was very likely that this was the ancestor of the spirit monkeys. More importantly, this was the extreme Tao world, and it might be a supreme figure. It might be related to a certain supreme weapon in the extreme Tao world. Seeing Lin Xian being so respectful, Little White was also surprised. She blinked her black gem-like eyes and looked carefully. Then she asked, "Why is he doing such a strange action?" As she spoke, Little White also raised her little paws, one pointing to the sky, the other to the ground. He was very curious, and he felt that it was very fun. However, at this moment there was a sudden clap of thunder, and Little White was directly sent flying. What happened? Lin Xian was worried, and he quickly went to Little White's side and poured the divine spring of life into her. Little White squeaked and kept scratching her head. "Who hit me?" Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He carefully checked and found that Little White was not injured. However, the sudden appearance of that power had indeed shocked him. He warned, "Don't do that again." Little White was confused. What does that mean? Why can he do it, but I can't?" Lin Xian looked at the stone again, and he took a deep breath. He felt a shocking power from the stone monkey. It was obvious that this was an earth-shattering and incredible figure back then. He thought of a possibility when the stone monkey did that. This action meant that he was the only one in the world. You haven't reached this realm, so you can't do this action. At the same time, Lin Xian was even more shocked. He was afraid that he had underestimated the stone monkey's origin. Little White nodded as if she understood. Chapter 5383. Sensing this aura, Lin Xian's expression completely changed. Because this aura was too terrifying. "Hurry up and leave." He brought Little White and Ling Shan and quickly retreated. In the next moment, the place where he was at collapsed and turned into countless cracks. Not only that, this force was crazily sweeping in all directions. There was no way to resist it. Fortunately, Lin Xian had two peerless movement techniques. One was Shadowless Heaven's Net. Coupled with the demon god's wings, his speed was extremely fast. Only then did he dodge. However, his expression also became extremely ugly. Damn it, this place actually had such a dangerous power. The thousand-eyed stone man had never told him before. It was obvious that the other party had deliberately concealed this news in order to catch him off guard and kill him. Lin Xian's expression was cold. He opened the sword world and grabbed the thousand-eyed stone man. The black vortex slowly disappeared. The thousand-eyed stone man laughed out loud. Haha, that brat should have fallen by now, right? He was extremely proud. However, in the next moment, when he saw Lin Xian behind him, his expression changed. Damn brat, you're not dead? Lin Xian's expression was cold. As expected, you were the one who plotted against me. As he spoke, he punched out and forced the thousand-eyed stone man back. The thousand-eyed stone man was sent flying. Its blood and chi churned. It roared crazily. Brat, after leaving that world, do you think you can still suppress me? He wanted to escape, but in the next moment he saw a stone platform near him. On the stone platform sat a stone monkey with one hand pointing to the sky, and the other pointing to the ground. His expression instantly turned ugly. Damn it, it was actually this place. He turned around and fled. However, at that moment, an extremely terrifying power came from inside and enveloped him. With a crack appeared on his body. He was sent flying and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. So terrifying. Lin Xian was also surprised. He had fought with the thousand-eyed stone man before, so he naturally knew how terrifying it was. Not to mention the other party's thousand eyes that possessed countless divine abilities. Just the stone man's physique alone was extremely strong, not weaker than his 9 yang divine body. But now his defense had been torn apart so easily. It was simply too shocking. The thousand-eyed golem fled frantically, not daring to resist at all. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He took out the Hellfire Dragon Sword and the Spear of Great Destruction. These 2 sacred artifacts blocked the enemy. You want to leave? Get the hell back in there. After a great battle, he forced the thousand-eyed stone golem back. The thousand-eyed stone golem was attacked again. This time, there were even more cracks on its body. Blood was dripping from many of his eyes. He was severely injured. He was completely terrified. He had been to this place before because he had discovered the secret of one page of the heavenly book. Therefore, he wanted to take it away. But the last time he came, he saw the stone monkey. He was injured in an instant. Although he was also a stone man, and so was the other party, the difference in strength between them was too great. He turned around and fled, not daring to stay any longer. From then on, he didn't dare to come to this place so easily. She didn't expect him to come again today. Furthermore, he had been beaten to this place. Damn it! He was crazy. He wanted to use his 1001st eye, the Holy Spirit Eye of Destruction. The 1001st eye shone again, and Lin Xian also used the Rinnegan at this time, pushing it to the extreme. It turned into a ray of reincarnation light. He took the lead and directly hit the 1001st eye. The Holy Spirit also screamed and retreated. Damn it! He felt that his eye was injured. Damn it, the Rinnegan. At this time, the stone monkey's third attack came from below, filling his body with cracks. No. The thousand-eyed stone golem was completely terrified. He realized that he couldn't escape at all. Was he going to die here? I can't accept this. His body was being torn apart by the supreme power below. Even if I die, I will drag you down to hell with me. The thousand-eyed stone golem was completely crazy. All 1001st eyes were burning. The last of its strength attacked Lin Xian. A powerful Holy Spirit, attacking with all its might, made Lin Xian feel like he was facing a great enemy. He dodged with all his might, but he was still hit. Cracks also appeared on his body. His entire body was hit and fell from the sky. Yeah, not good. Little White anxiously rushed to save him. He waved a small paw and quickly rushed over. He wanted to save Lin Xian. At this time, the stone monkey's fourth attack came. Little White's pupils shrank. Oh no! Lin Xian's expression also changed. The little guy quickly ran, but it was already too late. That power enveloped them. Lin Xian felt as if he was struck by lightning. He couldn't use any power. This stone monkey's origin was extraordinary. It was too terrifying. At this moment of crisis, the rune between Lin Xian's eyebrows suddenly bloomed, enveloping Lin Xian and the others. The supreme power disappeared in an instant. In the next moment, the world quieted down. They were saved. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Little White also looked at the big eyes, very puzzled. At this time, on the stone platform below the stone monkey, countless runes flickered. Lin Xian turned his head and looked. In the next moment, he was dumbfounded because he found that the stone platform suddenly became bright. There were mysterious runes flickering on it. These runes were very familiar. They were very similar to the runes between Ling Shan's eyebrows. Could it be that this was a page of the heavenly book? It was actually here with the stone monkey. Lin Xian was too shocked. Let's go. He brought Ling Shan to the bottom left. With the rune between Ling Shan's eyebrows, the stone monkey no longer attacked. The page of the heavenly book bloomed with light. Lin Xian used his Rinnegan to explore with all his strength. He wanted to imprint all of these runes in his mind. This process was very slow because these runes were too mysterious. Heavenly Dao runes. Each one was incomparably complicated. Even if Lin Xian had an extremely strong eye technique, the progress was very slow. But fortunately, this page of the heavenly book only had a few dozen runes. If there were hundreds, Lin Xian felt that his soul would collapse. But even so, he was afraid that it would take a long time. Lin Xian began to memorize these heavenly Dao runes here. At the same time, the spirit monkeys and others were waiting outside the slanted moon cave. But in the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. There was nothing in the cave. No one came out. The spirit monkeys were anxious. Did something happen to young Master Lin? What about Ling Shan? Ling Yu also clenched her small hands. She was also very anxious. But he said that there was no way. They could only wait. Believe in young Master Lin. He was definitely strong enough. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. It was almost a month. Everyone was about to despair. But the only thing worth rejoicing was that Ling Shan's soul jade tablet was not broken. This let everyone know that Ling Shan had not fallen. If not for this, everyone would have rushed in like crazy. Chapter 5384. Oblique Moon Cave, under the Bodhi tree. Lin Xian was using his Rinnegan with all his might. There was a page of the heavenly book in front of him that was constantly spinning. Whitey was staring at the Bodhi fruit on the Bodhi tree. Every time he would start to attack. He really did get 2 of them. At this moment he was still attacking. Ling Shan was at the side and fell into a deep sleep again. The rune between her eyebrows was still flickering. Another month passed. On this day, Lin Xian closed his eyes. His face was incomparably pale. He hurriedly took out all kinds of medicinal pills and heavenly treasures, and swallowed them to recover his soul power. His eyes were really in too much pain. There was no helping it. The heavenly Dao runes in the page of the heavenly book were really too magical. Fortunately, he remembered all of them. There were a total of 49 runes. There was a divine ability recorded on it called the Heavens of the Heavens Battle Diagram. It was very terrifying. Lin Xian was still unable to use it now. However, after he cultivated it, he should be able to use it. Moreover, he had also found a way to help Ling Shan. Lin Xian waved his finger and struck out a law that surrounded Ling Shan's body. Ling Shan flew forward. The rune between her eyebrows suddenly merged with the page of the heavenly book in front of her. In the next moment, a mysterious power appeared. Lin Xian also took a few steps back and watched quietly. The rune returned to its position. The heavenly Dao rune between Ling Shan's eyebrows slowly disappeared. However, the missing rune of the page of the heavenly book lit up again. In the next moment, the page of the heavenly book entered the stone tablet and disappeared. Thank you, Senior. Lin Xian bowed deeply towards the stone platform and the stone monkey on it. At this moment, the stone monkey's mouth suddenly raised into a smile. He didn't know if it was an illusion or Lin Xian's misconception. Lin Xian was stunned. In the next moment, he felt that the stone monkey's hands could split the world. A cloud of mist spread over and enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian felt the world spinning. He cursed inwardly. What kind of formation mechanism was this? If the stone monkey really attacked him now, he really wouldn't be able to defend himself. Fortunately, he didn't feel any danger. Only the clouds slowly disappeared. When Lin Xian saw his surroundings again, he was stunned. This was because he realized that this place seemed to be a large hall. Furthermore, it was an extremely terrifying palace. This was because the hall was filled with engravings of dragons. Tyrannosaurus rex, wyverns, sea dragons, all kinds of dragons were vivid and lifelike. Not only were there diagrams, but there were also dragon corpses. 10,000 dragons were crawling here. The dragons circled around each other. Each of them was incomparably terrifying. The aura on them was abnormally cold. The corpses of these dragons were made into a small mountain, and on the top of the mountain lay a figure. It was a man wearing an ancient Taoist robe. His eyes were closed, and there was no aura coming from him. Lin Xian was astonished when he sensed this scene. There was actually someone else. Other than the stone monkey, there was actually someone else in the oblique moon cave. However, when he carefully sensed it, he also gasped in shock. There was no life force, no soul. Was he dead? Lin Xian was surprised. Who was this man? Whether it was the stone monkey or this man, they were very similar to the quasi-emperor corpses he had seen in the Yuhua immortal dynasty. There was an extremely terrifying aura on them. In fact, they were even more terrifying than the quasi-emperor corpses. But he didn't know if they had reached the great emperor realm, because that realm was too terrifying. He couldn't judge. But in short, they were definitely powerhouses who had surpassed the sage realm. Lin Xian didn't dare to investigate carefully. After all, such a person had long surpassed everything. No one else was allowed to investigate. Even if Lin Xian had the Rinnegan, he didn't dare to. It was just that he was curious. There were so many corpses of dragons here, and some of them were even crawling at the feet of the other party. Could it be that this man was a powerhouse of the dragons? Could it be the Dragon Emperor? Lin Xian's eyelids twitched. He had killed the Dragon Prince. If it was the Dragon Emperor, he would have revived and fought him to the death. Thinking of this, Lin Xian felt a little guilty. He cupped his hands and said, "Sorry for disturbing you." Then he turned around and wanted to leave. But at this moment, a loud dragon roar sounded from his body, and the great dragon Sword Soul instantly flew out. Lin Xian was too shocked. What was going on? He didn't summon the great dragon Sword Soul. Moreover, this slanting moon cave was also an extreme realm. How did the great dragon Sword Soul come out? It was too unbelievable. Before he could react, the great dragon Sword Soul swung its tail and flew directly towards the man on the dragon mountain in front of him. Lin Xian's eyes almost popped out. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that the Dragon Emperor really wanted to snatch his great dragon Sword Soul? Lin Xian was on the verge of facing a great enemy. If that was the case, he had to fight even if he had to. He walked forward. As soon as he took a step, Lin Xian felt an overwhelming force pressing down on him. Cracking sounds could be heard from his body. It was too terrifying. What a terrifying dragon Dao aura. Although the giant dragon in this hall was a corpse, it was probably an extremely powerful existence when it was alive. It was a power that countless people looked up to. After death, it was still not destroyed. Lin Xian felt that it was difficult to take a step forward. At this moment, the great dragon Sword Soul in front of him turned into a dragon shadow and circled around the white-robed man. There was a trace of sadness in his low roar. Lin Xian was stunned. He stopped, not knowing why the great dragon Sword Soul was like this. However, he also felt a trace of sadness. He didn't walk forward anymore. Instead, he waited quietly. The great dragon Sword Soul in front of him turned into a dragon shadow and stayed on the white-robed man for a while. Suddenly, it raised its head and waved its dragon claws. It grabbed the black jade ring on the white-robed man's right thumb. Then, the dragon swung its tail and flew back into Lin Xian's body. A black jade ring appeared in Lin Xian's hand. This ring was incomparably deep and emitted a mysterious aura. Lin Xian was stunned. What was the meaning of this? The great dragon Sword Soul went forward just to take back this ring? What kind of ring was this? Lin Xian probed and found that he couldn't see through it. It was too mysterious. All of this was strange. Lin Xian felt that it was not good to stay here for long. He had a feeling that there was a terrifying and destructive power under this calmness, which made him frightened. So he decided to leave. His body swayed, and he flew into the distance. The surrounding fog condensed again and shrouded him. Soon Lin Xian disappeared from the hall. The entire hall fell silent again. Not long after, a terrifying power appeared in the surroundings. The entire hall shook violently, and countless large cracks appeared in the surrounding void. Especially under the ground, an abyss appeared, followed by a claw. It was a dragon claw. The purple dragon claw was covered with scales, and was incomparably sharp. On the claw, there was an extremely terrifying aura. It even had the power of the extreme path. Chapter 5385. The sudden appearance of the claw was too terrifying. It was enough to destroy everything. At this moment, the white-robed man on the dragon mountain. There was still no movement. However, the countless dragons below him let out a deep roar. Suddenly, a monstrous aura swept in all directions, forming a peerless array. The array was formed by 99 million dragons. The moment it was formed, it charged towards the giant claw below the ground. The giant claw below the ground was sealed. Her figure slowly disappeared as if she had never appeared. Everything returned to calm. All the silhouettes disappeared, and the entire hall became quiet again. At this moment, the white-robed man on the dragon mountain moved his finger gently. At the same time, a voice sounded between heaven and earth. Is he here? The voice was very ethereal. It disappeared in an instant. It was as if it was an illusion. Lin Xian did not know that such a mysterious and terrifying thing had happened after he left. At this moment, he rode on the clouds and left the mysterious palace. When he appeared again, he found that he was beside the Bodhi tree. The stone monkey was still sitting there, one hand pointing to the sky and the other to the ground. It was still emitting a terrifying message. However, because Lin Xian had already read a page of the heavenly book, it was no threat to him. Taking a deep breath, Lin Xian did not leave. He sat cross-legged under the Bodhi tree. There was no Bodhi tree, nor was there a mirror. Comprehending here made Lin Xian's heart as clear as a mirror. He decided to comprehend the heavens battle map here. Beside him, Ling Shan fell into a deep sleep. At this moment, she had recovered from her illness. She would not suddenly faint again. It was rare for Little White to be quiet. He came in front of the stone monkey and lay there, staring ahead with his black gem-like eyes. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Lin Xian's body seemed to have been petrified. He did not move at all during these 3 months. It was not only him. Little White was the same. On this day, Lin Xian opened his eyes. The dust on his body made cracking sounds. Everything dissipated and he returned to his clear state. Lin Xian stood up. So this was the heavens battle map. It was indeed magical. During these 3 months under Bodhi, his cultivation had progressed by leaps and bounds. Calculating the time, it was time to leave. This was because he still had the most important thing to do. And that was to head to the extreme Dao Valley for the final battle. Lin Xian stood up and bowed to the stone monkey again. Let's go, he said, waving his hand. Whitey also waved its little paw at the stone monkey in front of it, then left reluctantly. At this moment, the surrounding clouds once again spread out and formed a cloud under Whitey's feet. These auspicious clouds were like cotton candy, making Little White very happy. She jumped up and down, her big eyes squinting into crescents. Lin Xian was also astonished. This mist was definitely extraordinary. Little fellow, hurry up and thank Senior. Little White waved its little paws. Yeah, thank you. Then, with a wave of his claws, the cotton cloud under his feet instantly turned into a stream of light and disappeared. Lin Xian's pupils shrank as he finished reading. It was so fast that it could definitely catch up with his demon god wings. The demon god wings was a Thearka's ability. This cotton cloud was indeed extraordinary. Lin Xian also brought Ling Shan and flew out. Outside the slanted moon cave, the spiritual monkeys were still waiting patiently. A few months had passed, and there was still no news of Lin Xian and the rest, making them extremely anxious. However, on this day, a stream of light rushed out from inside. Then, it turned into a cloud of cotton, and rushed into the sky with the little monkey. They came out, someone came out. Those spiritual monkeys also exclaimed. Not long after, they saw a second figure appear. It was Lin Xian. Young Master Lin, you're out. Those spiritual monkeys rushed over. Ling, you even came over personally. Young Master Lin, are you alright? That's great. Right, how's my sister? Lin Xian put down Ling Shan on his back and patted her gently. Still sleeping? Wake up. Ling Shan opened her big eyes and blinked. Where was this? Lin Xian said. He was already fine, and he wouldn't faint again in the future. He didn't say the details, but those spiritual monkeys were overjoyed. Thank you, young Master Lin. Ling Yu and the rest quickly bowed, but Lin Xian waved his hand to stop them. Then he took out 3 Bodhi fruits and said, "This is for you." Bodhi fruits. Those spiritual monkeys were shocked. Ling Yu also said, "This is too precious." Lin Xian said, "This belongs to your slanted moon cave. It belongs to you. Also, I have to thank you properly this time. Alright, I won't stand on ceremony." Ling Yu took it. Lin Xian was right. He had gained a lot from this slanted moon cave. First, he got a few Bodhi fruits. Then, he got a page of the Heavenly Book's Heaven's Battle Map. He even saw a mysterious stone monkey and a white-robed man surrounded by dragons. More importantly, he got a mysterious ring from the white-robed man. Although he didn't know what the ring was for, it was definitely extraordinary. This caused Lin Xian to be astonished. Who exactly left behind this oblique moon cave? Could it have something to do with the stone monkey? As for the white-robed man, who was he? Lin Xian felt that all of this was a mystery. After staying in the Monkey Mountain for another 2 days, Lin Xian left. Ling Shan and the others were reluctant to leave. However, they knew that a top genius like Lin Xian wouldn't stay in one place. Moving forward was his goal. Lin Xian left the Monkey Mountain and flew all the way. He was going to rush to the Extreme Dao Valley with all his might. Extreme Dao Valley, the center of the Extreme Dao world. At this moment, countless people were rushing over from all directions. These days, each of them had a fortuitous encounter. After all, the Extreme Dao world was very mysterious. There were opportunities everywhere. It depended on whether you were strong or not, and whether you had the luck. At this moment, there were already people outside the Extreme Dao Valley. These people all stopped outside. There were a few heavenly steels around, connecting heaven and earth. On the heavenly steels, ancient names were engraved. These were the rankings of the Dragon Transformation Station. Those who were on the rankings were the most dazzling existences in the entire universe. At this moment, everyone looked up at these rankings. They were incomparably shocked. They wondered who would be able to make it on the rankings this time. To be engraved on the heavenly steels and be passed down for thousands of years. This was definitely the greatest glory. Buzz. Between heaven and earth. Rays of light appeared one after another. Terrifying flames swept across the 9 heavens. The fire Qilin had arrived, bringing with it tens of thousands of flames. On the other side, thunder filled the sky, turning into a thunder god-like figure. It was the Double Crown King, the Thunder King. There were also black flags that filled the sky, sealing heaven and earth. A man in a black robe was the Double Crown King, He Qi. There were also people with an indestructible aura. They were the emissaries of the indestructible 3. The 3rd emissary, the 2nd emissary, and the 5th emissary. Even the 1st emissary had arrived. The 1st emissary was incomparably powerful. He had arrived early. At this moment, he was standing in front of a heavenly steel with his hands behind his back. No one dared to approach him. Chapter 5386. The strength of the 1st emissary was terrifying, but there were still people who dared to fight against him. On the other side, a hazy figure appeared. This person's body was intertwined with the great Tao, as if he was the only one in the world. He had the innate Tao body. Apart from him, there was another person. Although he was wearing plain clothes, no one dared to underestimate him. Many people even looked at him with fear in their eyes because he was a light-shaking realm cultivator. During this period of time, Yaoguang had swallowed many experts, causing everyone to feel afraid. Apart from the light-shaking realm cultivators, the other experts and geniuses had also arrived. However, there were much fewer people than before. There were only about 100 of them. The others had either been eliminated or killed. In short, they couldn't come here. Among them, Yan Ruyu Murong Qingcheng the Dark Red Dragon, and the others had all arrived. They looked at each other and sighed in relief. Fortunately, they could participate in the final battle. Why hadn't older brother Xian come yet? Morong Qingqing frowned slightly. The dark red dragon said, "This brat should be fine." When the people from Eternal Mountain saw this, they sneered. "I think he might have encountered some accident and can't come." The others' eyes also flickered. That's right, they hadn't seen Lin Wudi yet. Many people were looking forward to it. It was better if Lin Wudi didn't appear, because the other party was indeed too terrifying. Without such a peerless expert, they would be able to reduce some of the pressure. However, they were destined to be disappointed because the next day, Lin Xian arrived. A black bolt of lightning streaked across the sky. Lin Xian arrived. His expression was incomparably calm as he arrived at the surroundings of the extreme Dao Valley. He looked at those people and was surprised. These people's auras were much stronger than before. Obviously, these people had fortuitous encounters. However, the number of people was much less than before. Among them, he saw many familiar figures. It was time to settle some grudges. A trace of coldness appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. Older brother Xian, Morong Qingqing and the others waved their hands. Lin Xian landed. "How was it?" he asked. Morong Qingqing and the others said that they had all improved recently. Older brother Xian, your aura has also become stronger. Lin Xian nodded. He had indeed had a fortuitous encounter. At this time, Morong Qingqing said, "Brother Xian, look at the heaven monument in front of us." What was that? Lin Xian was taken aback. He looked ahead and was dumbfounded. Morong Qingqing said from the side. These were the people who had made it onto the rankings in the past dragon transformation battles. Lin Xian was pleasantly surprised. These were all experts of the past. He carefully observed them. For example, the first envoy of Mount Eternal. He was unpredictable. There was also the born Taoism aptitude. His great path aura was too strong. Other than that, there was also Yao Guang. He didn't know how strong she was now. Lin Xian was also a huge threat to him. Other than that, there were other experts. Every one of them seemed to have a trump card. They couldn't be underestimated. After waiting for another 3 days, the number of people was almost enough. No one would come again. At this moment, a few extreme weapons appeared again. There was also the 8 trigrams diagram, the destruction spear, and the treasured bottle of life. They appeared in the void and looked down. Not bad. You came on time, and there are more of you than I expected. It seemed that this was really a golden age. The destruction spear also snorted coldly. All right, let's not talk nonsense. Next, the final battle will begin. As he spoke, he unleashed a destructive power toward the extreme Dao Valley. The extreme Dao Valley kept shaking. Around the extreme Dao Valley, 9 stairways appeared. At the same time, a destructive aura spread out, forming a destructive cloud that enveloped the stairways. The destruction spear's voice rang out. The 9 stairways led to the interior of the extreme Dao Valley. Only 3 people could pass through each stairway. Those who successfully passed through the stairway and entered the extreme Dao Valley, they could enter the final ranking battle. The others would all be eliminated. Everyone gasped when they heard that. There were too few spots. There were so many experts and geniuses here. Chapter 5387. Hearing the rules of the battle, many people's faces became extremely ugly. However, some people laughed. The third emissary snorted coldly. There were indeed a lot of people. It was time to clean up some ants. His eyes bloomed with a biting cold light. The other people also felt their scalps tingle. There were still 4 people in Mount Eternal. They were the first emissary, the second emissary, the third emissary, and the 5th emissary. If these 4 people joined forces, then the other party could completely monopolize the celestial stairway. However, there were also some people who sneered. They knew. Extreme weapons would never allow such a thing to happen. Indeed, the destructive war song said, "Don't worry, I won't let you join forces. I will separate the people you know." Hearing this, many people breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they were not surrounded by others, then there would be no problem. Lin Xian also looked at Morong Qingqing and the others. He said, You must be careful. They nodded. Next, the black tortoise bloomed with the 8 trigrams, emitting a terrifying light. It enveloped heaven and earth. Okay, now it begins. With that, these people were enveloped by the power of the 8 trigrams and entered different celestial stairways. The emissaries of Mount Eternal were sent to different celestial stairways. Lin Xian and Morong Qingqing were also separated. Everyone else was sent in. Of the 9 celestial stairways, only the top 3 could successfully pass. Therefore, as soon as everyone entered, they frantically flew to the top of the celestial stairway. But not long after, they frowned because there was a destructive fog around them. This was an extremely terrifying force, so they had to be careful. Therefore, their flying speed was very slow. Moreover, the celestial stairway was wider than they imagined. Maybe they would encounter other people at any time. Lin Xian also entered the celestial stairway. He entered the 6th celestial stairway. After entering, he felt the destruction around him. The fog enveloped him. It made him feel the pressure. However, the current Lin Xian was much stronger than before. The destructive fog could not hurt him. His right Rinnegan bloomed with light. Lin Xian walked forward. He was exploring the road. After flying for about the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Lin Xian stopped, because he met a person. That was a human figure, its appearance indistinct. Because of the destructive mist, it was impossible to see clearly. However, Lin Xian's soul could see clearly. It was a woman with delicate and pretty features. She was wearing clothes, and the sound of water could be heard from her. He should be a water elemental genius. The daughter of the river diagram also stopped. She also saw a figure in front of her, emitting a powerful aura. He didn't have Lin Xian's Rinnegan, so he couldn't see who his opponent was. However, he was very confident in his own strength, so he said coldly, "No matter who you are, it's your bad luck to meet me. Then let me send you out of the game." As he spoke, he struck out with his palm. A stream of river water seemed to have transcended time and space, and surged over. It swept towards Lin Xian like a galaxy. It was extremely vast. Lin Xian was also surprised. What a terrifying power. Clearly, those who could reach this step were not weaklings. They were all top-notch powerhouses. Although he didn't know this person, the other party's strength was very strong. Thinking of this, Lin Xian punched out. The 9 suns' divine fire turned into a sun and swept in front of him. The confrontation between fire and water. These were 2 completely opposite laws. So at this moment, when they collided, they restrained each other. Fire? No matter what kind of fire you are, I will destroy you. The daughter of the river diagram snorted coldly. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the monstrous water of the river diagram quickly swept over. This was more terrifying than countless galaxies. However, Lin Xian's 9 suns' divine fire was also extraordinary. This was the most yang power in the universe. It kept spinning, and the surrounding river water seemed to be evaporated. Damn it, how could it be? The daughter of the river diagram's pupils shrank sharply. She was restrained. What kind of flame was this? I don't believe it. He waved his palm, and it turned into 24 galaxies, forming a mysterious diagram. This was the river diagram, like a sky diagram, pressing down from the sky, covering Lin Xian's sun. Suppress. The river diagram suppressed the sun. The daughter of the river diagram's lips curled up. No matter how strong the other party's flame was, it was no match for him. Lin Xian's eyes burst with a shocking light. He continuously punched out. The 9 suns' divine fist turned into golden crows one after another, sweeping between heaven and earth. At this moment, thousands of rays of light flew out. The whole world turned into a sea of fire. The momentum was vast and shocking. The river diagram was suppressed in an instant, and he was sent flying backward. The daughter of the river diagram's blood was also boiling. Her face was pale, and there was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Damn it, how could it be? The other party's flame power was actually so powerful? Who exactly are you? Fire Qilin or burning incense? In his opinion, these were the only people who possessed such terrifying flames. Lin Xian was stunned after hearing that. You can't see me? Although there was a destructive mist, Lin Xian could see the other party. The other party couldn't see him. Obviously, Without a powerful eye technique, it was impossible to see the enemy clearly. The daughter of the river diagram's expression also changed. If you can see me, it means that you have a terrifying eye technique. With such terrifying flames, could it be that you are Lin Wuti? Previously on the Sea of Misery, many powerhouses and geniuses had fought. Some of the powerful physiques and divine abilities were naturally remembered by others. Lin Wuti's powerful strength was naturally remembered by countless people. The daughter of the river diagram guessed the other party's identity at this moment. She gasped. She didn't expect it to be him. That's right, it's me, Lin Xian said with a smile. Lin Wuti, I admit that your flames are very strong, but now is not the final battle. There is no need for you and me to fight to the death. First, get the stairway, and the top 3 will enter the finals. Let's fight again. With that, she turned around and soared into the air, flying off in a certain direction. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He didn't chase after her. The other party was right. The most important thing now was to pass the stairway. He stomped his foot and turned into a black lightning bolt, flying quickly into the distance. In addition to Lin Xian's side, the other people were also climbing the stairway quickly. Many of them encountered each other. After a great battle, some people were defeated, but they weren't so lucky and were directly eliminated. For a while, people were constantly being eliminated, and the number of people was getting fewer and fewer. Outside the extreme path world, the powerhouses of the Monarch clan, the clan of the ancients, and the great sects were still waiting. At this time, they found that another person had been eliminated. They asked and found out that the people inside had already begun fighting near the extreme path valley. It was clear that the finals were about to begin. I wonder who will be able to enter the final round? All of them started to get nervous. Chapter 5388. In the 6th stairway, Lin Xian continued to move forward. His speed was not slow. Suddenly his expression changed. His body swayed, and he was pushed back. At the place where he was standing, a bolt of lightning struck down, piercing through the void. Lin Xian retreated. His expression was cold. Who is it? Come out! A cold shout spread throughout the surroundings. Beside him, a figure walked out and sneered. Not bad. You're actually so smart to be able to avoid my trap. It really surprised me. But it's a pity that you met me. So be obedient and be eliminated. If you eliminate yourself, you won't be injured. If I make a move, I won't be able to kill you, but I can still make you suffer. The cold voice made one's scalp tingle. Terrifying thunder surrounded heaven and earth. It was so terrifying. Could it be that Thunder King? He knew that there was a double crown king, but he felt that the aura was not the same. He activated his Rinnegan and looked forward. He found that it was not the double crown king but someone else. This person looked middle-aged, and the lightning on his body was very terrifying. Not only that, but there was also an extremely terrifying flame flickering on the other side of his body. However, he did not feel the power of the flame. It was obvious that the other party was suppressing the power of the flame, preparing for a surprise attack. What a sinister guy. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. If he didn't know the other party's background, he might really be injured by the power of the flame. He would suffer a big loss. Unfortunately, Lin Xian's eyes were enough to see through everything. Lin Xian sneered. Who do you think you are? How dare you eliminate me? Get out of my sight now, and I can spare your life. You're courting death. From your voice, you must be a young genius. Stupid thing, go to hell. The middle-aged man snorted and waved his hand. In the sky, hundreds of thunderbolts descended with the power to destroy everything. This aura was very oppressive, causing people's faces to be filled with despair, and their bodies to shake. However, Lin Xian only sneered. His shadowless was extremely fast, leaving behind countless afterimages. These thunder strikes struck his afterimage and Lin Xian charged forward. The middle-aged man didn't dodge at all. Instead, a cold smile appeared on his face. He was waiting for his opponent to engage in close combat, because he still had a powerful force that he hadn't used yet. That was the power of fire. He was from the Thunderflame clan. Furthermore, he was an extremely terrifying elder of the Thunderflame clan. He was the Thunderflame 8th elder, and his strength was extremely terrifying. If he could successfully enter the rankings in this battle, then when he returned, he would be able to enter the top 10. Then, he would be able to successfully become the new patriarch of the Thunderfire clan. The Thunderfire clan was an extremely powerful clan in the myriad of worlds. Not only did it possess the power of thunder, but it also possessed the terrifying power of fire. Furthermore, the two powers had perfectly fused with their bodies. Now, it was only using the power of thunder to suppress the power of fire. The purpose was to set up a trap and make the other party careless. At the crucial moment, it would launch a sure kill attack. In the next moment, he sensed the other party in front of him. Although he didn't know who the other party was, it didn't matter. The other party was bound to lose this time. Looking at the other party's punch, he unleashed a terrifying thunder strike. It transformed into a claw of a thunder beast and clawed over. At the same time, he formed a seal with his left hand, and an extremely terrifying claw of fire condensed on it. All of a sudden, he charged forward. Haha, go to hell. Even if the other party was an experienced expert like him, this sudden sneak attack would definitely defeat him. Not to mention a young man who didn't have much experience. Boom. Boom boom. Two deep sounds rang out, and the surrounding void was torn apart, and countless large cracks appeared. A storm spread out in all directions with the two as the center. Elder Thunderflame was stunned. How was this possible? He was stunned because he realized that his claw of fire had hit the front, as if it had hit a mountain. It didn't injure the other party. How was this possible? He was stunned. Could it be that his sneak attack didn't succeed? He realized that there was a pair of black seals in front of him, standing there like an ancient demonic mountain. The demonic aura emitted from it made his scalp tingle. Damn it, what's going on? He was dumbfounded. Lin Xian's lips curled up into a smile. He blocked the other party's attack and snorted coldly. Do you think that you can sneak attack me by suppressing the power of the flames? And then injure me? You're too naive. Your little tricks are nothing in front of me. Damn it, this is impossible. How did you know? The Thunderflame 8th Elder had gone completely mad. How did the other party know what he was thinking? Furthermore, he knew everything about it. Damn it. Could the other party read his soul? Or could the other party see it clearly? But this shouldn't be. Even with his strength, he couldn't see the other party's image clearly in this fog of destruction. How did the other party see it? Why? Are you surprised? Are you shocked? Stupid thing, you dare to go against me with just you? Lin Xian sneered. On his palm, power suddenly erupted, and the demon god seal was blasted out. It shattered the other party's flaming hand. Then his left hand's 9 suns divine fist sent the other party's thunder flying. Elder Thunderflame was forced back, his hands hanging down. At this moment, cracks appeared on his palm. What a terrifying power. How could it be? He was injured in a short exchange. This person was stronger than him. Who the hell are you? He roared crazily. Suddenly, she let out a miserable shriek. She discovered that a soul attack had come from the front, and had directly attacked her soul. He vomited blood and retreated. He was seriously injured. Damn it, the power of reincarnation. You're that Lin Wudi? He roared in horror. Now he finally understood why the other party could see him clearly. Because the other party had the Rinnegan. That was a super powerful eye technique. Only the other party could see it clearly. Thinking of this, his face turned pale. Young Master Lin, misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. There's fog here. I don't know it's you. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to make a move. How about this? Spare my life, and I'll repay you in the future. Repay me? Lin Xian sneered. You said you wanted to kill me before, but now you're begging for mercy. Unfortunately, this is an elimination round, so you're destined to be eliminated. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want me to send you out? Damn it, Lin Wudi, don't be too arrogant. So what if you can see clearly? If you really piss me off, I'll fight to the death. Elder 8 was also angry. What was his identity? He was the one who was about to become the Thunderflame Patriarch. He was high and mighty. No matter how strong the other party was, he couldn't be so arrogant. Lin Xian sneered. Fight to the death. Just you? You're not qualified. Get lost. Their bloodline could also control everything. But now their dreams were shattered. Old 8 had been eliminated. Not to mention entering the top 10, he couldn't even enter the rankings. Damn it, how is this possible? The 8th elder was very powerful. As long as he didn't encounter the born Taoism aptitude, the first messenger, and a few other people, he wouldn't be able to defeat him. He wouldn't fail at all. Who was it? Who was it? They roared madly. Someone frowned and said, "It seemed to be Lin Wudi. That damned Lin Wudi. It's that bastard. Damn it, we'll fight him to the death." These people were also gnashing their teeth. They couldn't wait to rush in and suppress Lin Xian. Lin Xian didn't know about this. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. He even dared to challenge those emperor clans, let alone the Thunder Blaze clan. The Thunder Blaze 8th elder's face turned black. He was extremely depressed. Why did he have to meet Lin Wudi? The others also sucked in a breath of cold air. They prayed in their hearts that their experts would not meet Lin Wudi again. In the extreme path world, Bai Susu, who was at the third step of the celestial stairway, had an ugly expression on her face. She had met a powerful opponent, the Fire Qilin. This was the Emperor's son and the Double Crown champion. She had used all her strength, but still wasn't a match for her opponent. She was injured and chose to take the initiative to be eliminated. With a flash of light, she came out. After coming out, she sighed. The people of the Divine Union hurried over and asked, "What's going on? Who eliminated you?" Bai Susu sighed helplessly. It was the Fire Qilin. Hearing this, the others shook their heads. It seemed like they were unlucky. Bai Susu was strong and a young powerhouse. However, she didn't have any chance of winning against the Fire Qilin. "Don't worry, you're already very strong." Elder Bai walked out and looked at his daughter. He was extremely emotional. To be honest, she knew her daughter. Even if she was a genius, she wouldn't be able to reach this stage. All of this was because of Lin Xian. It was Lin Xian who had helped Bai Susu reach this stage. One had to know that being able to participate in the Battle of the Realms and enter the Sky Stairway was already one of the top 100 existences in the universe. Although it wasn't on the rankings, it was enough to laugh at everyone. This achievement was 10,000 times greater than what Elder Bai had expected. Bai Susu naturally knew this. However, she wasn't discouraged. Instead, she started to recover and wait patiently. She was waiting for the finals. The people of the Divine Union were looking forward to it. They wondered how the others were doing. This time, apart from Lin Xian and Morong Qingcheng, the dark red divine dragon and the toad were also participating. They were also nervous. The toad was very angry at this moment. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. Damn it, he kept spitting saliva. It was highly toxic. However, the person in front of him sneered. So it was a toad. It wasn't tasty. Lord Dog didn't like it. The toad was so angry that he vomited blood. "You're the toad. Your whole family are toads. I'm the handsome and invincible toad." In front of him was an extremely strange person. He had a dog's head and was holding a white bone that looked like a mace. More importantly, he was carrying an iron pot on his back and his eyes were glowing. Moreover, the first thing he said was that it wasn't tasty. This made him furious. Was this guy a foodie? "Damn doghead. What did you say?" The toad stomped his feet in anger. The dog-headed man sneered. "Little toad, you're not my match." As he spoke, he waved the bone in his hand forward. It turned into a white bone mountain that descended from the sky. A terrifying sound was heard as the toad was sent flying. The white bone had a mysterious glow on it. Damn it, even a dog head was so powerful. The toad clenched his teeth in disbelief. The dog-headed man laughed. "Lord Dog's bone isn't something you can imagine." Woof. Woof. He charged over and bit the toad. The toad was so scared that his scalp went numb. He kept dodging. Finally, he clenched his teeth. "You're ruthless. Doghead, I'll remember you." He crushed his protective jade pendant and turned into a ray of white light before disappearing. Outside, the people of the Divine Union were shocked when the toad came out. He actually came out. Who defeated him? Bai Susu also opened her eyes. The toad said, "I was unlucky. I met an expert, a top-notch expert." Who was the expert? Chapter 5390. The toad's face turned red because the people he had met were not these people at all. He had met a dog head. But what could he say? If he was bitten out by a dog, the people around him would probably laugh their heads off. Therefore, he could only lie and say that it was an expert that he had never seen before. The others exclaimed in surprise. There were experts that they had never seen before. It seemed that there were indeed crouching tigers and hidden dragons here. On the 6th stairway, Lin Xian continued to set off. At this moment, he stopped again. He had met an expert. It was a swordsman. The sword qi on this person's body was so shocking that even Lin Xian was shocked. He did not dodge. Instead, he faced the attack head-on. Because he wanted to compete with the other party in sword techniques. I am the Thousand Autumn Sword Saint. If you don't want to die, scram. The person in front of him shouted angrily. His body emitted a dazzling sword light that swept in all directions. It was obvious that he was planning to use his name to scare away the enemy. However, it was a pity that he had met Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled. Thousand Autumn Sword Saint? Let me experience your sword techniques. As he spoke, he used his fingers like a sword and slashed out. This sword carried the vast power of stars. It was as if starlight had descended from the sky. The person opposite him sneered. So you're also a swordsman. However, it was a pity that he was no match for him in sword techniques. The sword intent on the other party's body erupted. A sorrowful sword intent swept out like autumn water. With a clang, the two sword qi collided with a cracking sound. He had actually blocked it. The Thousand Autumn Sword Saint was surprised. As a top-notch swordsman, he rarely met an opponent in sword techniques. Normally, when he encountered a divine ancestor, he would be able to split them apart with a single sword strike. However, the opponent this time was actually so powerful. Good boy, who are you? Tell me your name. Lin Xian laughed. You're not qualified to know who I am now. You'll only be qualified if you defeat me. How arrogant. The Thousand Autumn Sword Saint's expression also darkened. In terms of sword techniques, he did not lose to anyone. His sword qi slashed over again. It carried a desolate aura that was enough to destroy everything. Lin Xian used the 9-star sword technique to fight against it. The vast starlight was incomparably grand. It blocked the ancient desolate aura of the other party. Qianji sword. At this moment, the Thousand Autumn Sword Saint roared furiously. With a flick of his finger, a long sword appeared in his hand. It was an ancient sword. At this moment, the sword light flickered and turned into thousands of sword qi. 1,000 streaks of sword qi. Each and every one of them was incomparably terrifying. They were like divine rainbows that could split heaven and earth apart. This was a unique sword technique, known as the Thousand Sword Technique. At this moment, thousands of sword qi swept out in all directions, all slashing towards Lin Xian. 9-star alignment. Feeling this sword, Lin Xian did not dare to be careless. He shouted loudly, "Good." Then, the sword qi in the sky turned into 9 stars and connected with each other to form a spatial sword. The space god sword slashed forward and collided with the Qianji sword. The boundless sword qi hammered down from the 9 heavens, sweeping out in all directions. At this moment, the entire world shook violently. After one sword strike, the Thousand Autumn Sword Saint's qi and blood surged. He had actually blocked his 1,000 sword technique. It was truly unbelievable. Who are you? He roared again. Lin Xian was also shocked. How terrifying. This sword saint was not ordinary. The 9-star sword technique was a sword technique that he had created himself. Its power was also extremely terrifying. Very few people could block it. This time, the other party was actually able to block it. Interesting. The corner of his mouth curled up. Then he followed up with another sword strike. His sword technique suddenly became strange. In an instant he appeared behind the other party. Azura sword technique, a sure kill sword. Not good. The Thousand Autumn Sword Saint's face changed. The other party's sword technique was majestic and profound. But now, it was strangely carrying an extremely strong murderous aura. This sudden change did not allow him to react at all. He was sent flying by the sword. One of his arms fell off, and his blood dyed the world red. He let out a blood-curdling scream and quickly retreated. A top-notch assassin? Then there were 2 more sword strikes. One of them was aimed at his forehead. The other was aimed at his heart. The 2 swords were extremely fast, like lightning. The Thousand Autumn Sword Saint used his protective sword chi to block. An intense collision sounded. He was beaten until he kept retreating and vomited blood. Damn it, he couldn't attack at all now. He could only passively defend. Moreover, the other party's sword was becoming more and more terrifying. Another sword strike. It pierced through the top of his head. Not good. He raised his sword to block. Clang. His arm was shattered. The sword had cleaved him into 2 halves. His body turned into white light and disappeared. When he came back to his senses, he found that he was already outside the extreme path realm. Damn it, I actually lost. He roared at the sky, and the sword chi on his body swept in all directions. The people waiting outside were so scared that their scalps went numb. They all retreated. Damn it, what a terrifying sword intent. Who is this person? His sword technique is too terrifying. He's a peerless swordsman. I've heard of this person. He's called the Thousand Autumn Sword Saint. He's very terrifying. It's said that even the sacred ancestor couldn't block a single strike from him. How did he get eliminated? Who was the one who did it? Countless cries of surprise sounded. An Emperor clan elder came to ask. The Thousand Autumn Sword Saint's face was cold. He said, I don't know who it is. After saying that, he turned around and soared into the sky, disappearing. The surrounding people were stunned. They didn't know who it was. What did he mean by that? However, when they asked, they found that he had disappeared. Could it be that there was an even more terrifying expert inside? Lin Xian also withdrew his sword. After eliminating his opponent, he continued on his way. Half a day later, he stopped again. His expression became extremely strange. He didn't find any enemies. Instead, he smelled a fragrance. That's right, the smell of barbecued meat. What's going on? Lin Xian was stunned. How could there be barbecued meat in this world? Could it be an illusion? He used his Rinnegan, and found that there was indeed someone busy in front of him. It was a person with a dog's head. In front of him was a large iron pot. Something was stewing in the iron pot. An aroma came out of it. Lin Xian was dizzy after seeing that. Someone was stewing meat here, and it was a dog's head. Who was looking at Lord Dog? At this moment, the dog-headed Taoist suddenly raised his head. A shocking light flickered in his eyes. He directly tore the void apart. Lin Xian was shocked. This person's soul was so strong. He could actually discover him. In the next moment, Lin Xian raised the corner of his mouth and walked forward. You're really carefree. I'm hungry too. Give me a bite. After saying that, he stretched out his hand and grabbed the iron pot in front of him. The dog-headed Taoist was stunned. Then he struck out with his paw. You dare to steal Lord Dog's food? Are you tired of living? With a clang, the two collided. The dog-headed Taoist retracted his paw. She cried out in shock. What a hard hand. Are you made of stone? Not good, not good. She quickly shook her head. I'm not interested in you. Hurry up and leave. Lin Xian was also shocked. The other party didn't lose out after colliding with his divine body. It was obvious that this person's physique was very strong. Chapter 5391. Lin Xian stretched out his hand again and grabbed forward. He grabbed a piece of demonic beast meat from the pile. It was already very fragrant. He took a bite and nodded his head in satisfaction. Not bad. The dog-headed cultivator was furious. If this Lord Dog doesn't flip out, do you think I'm a sick cat? He waved his hand and the iron pot surged forward. In an instant it enveloped Lin Xian. Then the dog-headed cultivator waved his hand and released a terrifying flame. You're going to be stewed. The flame in front of him burned and made gurgling sounds. The dog-headed cultivator coldly snorted. How is it? Now you know the consequences of messing with me. You want to fight with this Lord Dog? You're overestimating yourself. The dog-headed cultivator coldly laughed. However, at this moment, a voice came from the iron pot. I'm afraid that your iron pot won't be able to hold it. Then, a clanging sound was heard and the iron pot was sent flying. F***CK, my elixir killed the demonic beast. You ate it all. The dog-headed cultivator was shocked. At the same time, he was also surprised. The strength of the person in front of him was too terrifying. One had to know that his iron pot was actually a terrifying weapon. His flame was even more terrifying. Even a divine ancestor would be turned into a meal if he was enveloped by it. However, the opponent was completely fine. Make your move. Show me your true strength. Lin Xian walked over with large strides. Terrifying sword energy revolved around his body. However, the dog-headed cultivator coldly snorted. He carried the iron pot and clenched his teeth. Despicable brat, this lord dog has no food to eat today. Just you wait. I'll deal with you after I'm full. After saying that, he barked and turned into a ray of light, disappearing. What a strange fellow. Lin Xian shook his head and continued on his way. Finally, he reached the top of the stairway. He took a step and entered the valley. At the same time, other people also entered the other stairways. When the last person on the stairway entered, a loud voice rang out between heaven and earth. At the same time, the destructive halberd exploded with power. Now all the spots on the stairway had been used up. Everyone else had been eliminated. What? Some of the people who were still trying their best to advance on the stairway heard this, and their expressions changed. Have all the spots been filled? Were they eliminated? No, I can't accept this. Roars rang out one after another. However, it was useless. Each stairway only had 3 slots, and they had all been used up. The others were all teleported out. Outside the extreme Dao world, rays of light appeared one after another. This sudden change caused the others to cry out in alarm. What was going on? Why did so many people suddenly teleport out? After coming out, those people roared towards the sky. Damn it, I can't accept this. Just a little bit more, and I would have gotten a spot. Were all these people eliminated? The surrounding spectators were truly shocked. What kind of battle had taken place inside? At this time, a ray of light rushed out from the extreme Dao gate, forming a light screen. A scene appeared, and the Yi clan's people cried out in alarm. The members of the Fire Qilin clan also raised their heads and looked over. At this moment, everyone looked at the light screen in front of them. They discovered that a valley had appeared in front of them. It was the extreme Dao Valley. They were all shocked. Was the final battle about to begin? Those who were eliminated gritted their teeth and were unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. They could only accept this reality. One by one, they descended with gloomy expressions. They all wanted to see how the people inside would fight. In the extreme Dao Valley, there were 9 stairways, and 3 figures stood on each of them. There were a total of 27 people. These people had successfully entered the finals, which meant that they were on the leaderboard. These people's names would be engraved on the divine steel this time. However, this was not the end. There was still the final ranking. The top 10 had some rewards, especially the reward for the first place. That was something left behind by the great emperor. The goal of some top-notch powerhouses was to get first place. At the very least, they had to get into the top 10. They had to succeed. At this moment, an extremely terrifying light burst out from those people's eyes. At the same time, the 27 people who succeeded quickly looked around, looking for their opponents. Many people's faces darkened when they saw Lin Xian. Damn it, that kid was still here. Lin Xian also looked around and saw some familiar people. For example, Yao Guang, Hua Qilin, and the others were all here. There were also a few attendants from Mount Eternal who came in. At the same time, he saw Morong Qingqing, Yin Ruyu and the Dark Red Dragon. He waved at those people. Big brother Xian. Morong Qingqing and the others were also happy. Damn it, it should be you. At this moment, the dog-head-loose cultivator looked at Lin Xian and gritted his teeth. He was on the 6th stairway. Other than him, there was Lin Xian and a woman. That woman shouldn't be the one who fought with him, so it should be Lin Wudi. He stared at Lin Xian and bared his fangs. Lin Xian looked at him and smiled. He walked over and patted the dog-head-loose cultivator's shoulder. Are you full? The dog-head-loose cultivator shouted angrily. Not yet. You knocked over my food. Lin Xian smiled. Why don't we have a meal now? You provide the pot and the food. I'll provide the flame. The dog-head-loose cultivator snorted and put down the pot on his back. Then he took out a few demonic beasts from his storage ring and quickly cleaned them up. Then he threw them into the pot. Lin Xian smiled. He waved his hand and the 9 young divine flame began to burn. Not long after, a fragrance filled the air and spread in all directions. When the people on the stairway saw this, their eyes widened. Heavens, what is the meaning of this? This is the final battle, and you're actually eating and drinking here? This Lin Wudi is really arrogant. Some people who knew Lin Xian frowned. However, what shocked them even more was that the other dog-head loose cultivator was even more arrogant. He actually carried a pot on his back. What did he think this place was? At this moment, the apex weapon appeared in the sky again. The black tortoise looked down and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He smiled and said, "First, congratulations on entering the rankings. Next is the rankings." Everyone had a chance to challenge, and the rankings would be based on victory and defeat. First, the top 10 would be decided. Hearing this, no one was surprised. No matter how they fought, they would go all out. Challenge. The first envoy let out a cold grin. He was just standing there. He wanted to see who dared to challenge him. His body emitted an extremely terrifying, undying battle intent that shot into the sky. The people around felt their scalps go numb. This person could definitely enter the top 10. They even felt that he had the strength to enter the top 3. Chapter 5392. The dog-head cultivator ate even faster after hearing that. No, he had to recover his strength as soon as possible. Lin Xian was also eating calmly at the side, as if he didn't care about the upcoming match at all. The Lady of the River Diagram's eyelids twitched. These two fellows were really... He didn't know what to say anymore. She was even a little angry, so she closed her eyes and stopped paying attention. At that moment, the faces of the other people on the stairway to heaven darkened. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Kid, you're still so relaxed here. I'll send you to hell right now." A cold voice was heard. Shocking murderous intent swept towards Lin Xian. Lord Dog glared at the person and said, "Leave. He came from you. Don't knock over my food." He protected his iron pot. Lin Xian frowned and put down the stew in his hand. He raised his head and glanced over. It was the 5th emissary of the indestructible 3. He came to the valley with murderous intent. He pointed at Lin Xian and said, "You're here to die." Lin Xian glanced at him and stood up. He laughed coldly. "You people from the indestructible 1,000 mountains are really funny. You said you wanted to kill me, but you were all sent to hell by me. All right, I'll send you out to meet them today." Lin Xian strode forward. At the same time, the surrounding people looked around. Some of them started to choose their opponents. They chose some weak opponents and eliminated them first. They had to at least enter the top 10. That was what the surrounding people thought. For example, Yao Guang's eyes lit up. He stared at the people around him. Should he find 2 of them and devour their bloodlines? That dog-head cultivator was with Lin Xian, right? He should get rid of him too. There was no need for him to be here. Who did he think he was? Why was he eating and drinking here? Kill him. A middle-aged man soared into the sky and charged towards the dog-head cultivator. "You dare to challenge Lord Dog? Do you want to die?" The dog-head cultivator was very angry. Last time, his food was knocked over by Lin Xian. This time, someone dared to disturb his meal. He was furious. He picked up the bone beside him and threw it over. A terrifying light exploded. It moved like a mountain, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to crack. The middle-aged man was blown into the valley. He spat out blood. However, the dog-head cultivator didn't let him go. He waved his claws and tore him into 2. "Trash! How dare you disturb Lord Dog?" The dog-head cultivator. He looked at the 5th envoy and said, "Hurry up and make your move." There was a hint of impatience in his expression. At this moment he was looking at the array formation light screen in front of him. One battle after another was going on. They also cried out in surprise. Was this the finals? It's too powerful. Some of the people who were eliminated sucked in a breath of cold air. They weren't convinced before. But now they realized that the people who entered the final were all extremely terrifying. Even if they went up, it would be difficult for them to deal with them. They might even be defeated in an instant. That's Lin Wudi. He's going to make a move. His opponent is from Mount Eternal. Lin Xian was probably done for. This time, he was out of luck. The 10 great emissaries of Mount Eternal were extremely terrifying. Even the 10th emissary was already so terrifying. How terrifying is the 5th emissary? No matter how strong his comprehension is, can he withstand it? Everyone exclaimed. The Thousand Dragon Dynasty's people sneered. It seems that this kid is dead. The Purple Mansion's people also snorted. They didn't need to do anything. Someone was able to deal with a strong opponent. That was great. However, the 4th emissary of Mount Eternal had a cold expression. He was defeated by Lin Xian. The 5th emissary was about the same strength as him. He was even weaker. It was very dangerous to fight against him now. He could only say, "Old 5th, I hope you won't be careless." The 5th emissary in Extreme Dao Valley made a move. He formed a seal with his palm and struck out a law. The whole world shook violently. It was like a black sea that swept through the 9 heavens. In the blink of an eye, it enveloped the area where Lin Xian was. The monstrous black sea water swept through the sky, making everyone's scalp numb. The 5th emissary smiled. This is the eternal ocean. Once the opponent enters, he can forget about coming out. The 3rd emissary and the others also sneered. However, they were destined to be disappointed this time. In the eternal ocean, Lin Xian had already struck out. His golden fist pierced through heaven and earth. It directly pierced through the eternal ocean. Then he walked out. How is this possible? The 5th emissary's pupils shrank. His expression became incomparably ugly. The 3rd emissary was also stunned. They knew the power of the eternal ocean. Even if the opponent wanted to come out, he would have to use all his strength to burn the law and come out with serious injuries. But now the opponent pierced through it with one punch. What kind of strength is this? Buzz. Lin Xian's emissary, the Shadowless Heaven's Net, instantly arrived in front of the 5th emissary and punched out again. This punch directly hit the opponent's body and sent him flying. Half of the 5th emissary's body was shattered. Sacred blood dripped from the sky. He was completely stunned. He landed in the distance and vomited large mouthfuls of blood. The others also cried out in alarm. The spectators outside were even more in an uproar. The expressions of the people from Mount Eternal changed. How could this be? Was the gap so big? The 5th emissary was careless. The 4th emissary's expression was incomparably solemn. This guy was even more terrifying than when he met him. The 5th emissary stood up. He roared at the sky, and inextinguishable power surrounded him. His body was repaired. At the same time, he shouted angrily. All kinds of laws flew over in an overwhelming manner. Light surged between heaven and earth. Lin Xian sneered. He waved his hand, and the Taiji diagram rotated. A terrifying yin and yang aura swept through heaven and earth, striking out between yin and yang. At the same time, he soared into the sky like a giant dragon. His fists danced, and the entire world was constantly shattered. The yin and yang sword blocked the opponent's law divine ability. He then attacked the 5th emissary. With another 2 punches, the 5th emissary was torn apart. It shouldn't be the umpteenth time that she felt despair. She felt that the opponent's fists were too terrifying. He couldn't resist the opponent at all. The opponent had completely surpassed him. He turned around and fled. Lin Xian sneered. He kicked out and sent the opponent flying again. Then he formed a seal with his palm, forming a few suns and directly suppressing them. Boom boom boom. The entire Extreme Dao Valley was completely enveloped by the light of the sun. Everyone closed their eyes. This power was really too terrifying. Chapter 5393. Damn it, how dare you! The 3rd emissary roared crazily. He sensed that the 5th emissary's aura had disappeared. Were the others also exclaiming that they had been eliminated? When the light in front of them disappeared, they carefully looked over. The 5th emissary was nowhere to be seen. Only Lin Xian was standing there with his hands behind his back. Lin Xian looked around and sneered. Mount Eternal was too weak. Was there no one who could fight? Brat, are you courting death? The third emissary roared crazily. The second emissary's eyes were also filled with cold killing intent. I'm going to kill you myself. Lin Xian ignored this threat and returned to the stairway. The surrounding people were also surprised. One had to know that the fifth emissary was also very powerful. However, he was completely suppressed by Lin Xian. He was easily eliminated in a few moves. How powerful was Lin Wuti? They couldn't see through him. Some of the experts furrowed their brows tightly. This was truly a peerless enemy. Outside the extreme path world, those from Mount Eternal were also gritting their teeth. Damn it. Half of the emissaries on their side were eliminated by Lin Wuti. Don't worry, the first 3 emissaries were very powerful. As long as one of them met the other, he would be killed. Lin Wuti and the others clenched their fists. They were waiting for that moment. The other people were also fighting. What was more shocking was the battle between He Qi and the four-handed Divine Lord. He Qi was an expert who had been asleep for tens of thousands of years. He had 7 black flags beside him that could suppress and seal everything. The four-handed Divine Lord was a veteran divine ancestor. His 4 arms danced like thousands of lightning bolts that swept across the starry sky. The battle between the two was earth-shattering. Multicolored light danced in the sky and swept through the 9 heavens. The surrounding people were also shocked. However, in the end, the four-handed Divine Lord was defeated. He was suppressed and sealed by He Qi's flag, and was completely eliminated. Countless people looked at He Qi in surprise and gasped. This person was also very terrifying. He had the possibility of entering the top 10. Murong Qingqing and the others also made a move and eliminated their opponents. They displayed their powerful strength. After the battle, everyone returned to the stairway. Now the number of people had been reduced by half. After that, everyone became very careful because those who stayed behind were all experts. They didn't dare to be careless. They were already very close to the top 10. It was not easy to eliminate even one of them. In particular, there were a few figures that they absolutely could not challenge. For example, the number 1 emissary of Mount Eternal had been standing there with his hands behind his back since the beginning. No one dared to challenge him. In addition, there was also the light-shaking realm cultivators. They didn't want to become food for the other party. The born Taoism aptitude was also extremely terrifying. Just the great path on his body alone was enough to make them feel as if they were facing a formidable enemy. There were also a few people who were very terrifying, such as Lin Wuti. They didn't dare to challenge him rashly. There was also the dog-headed Taoist. The other party was too strange. Before he figured out the other party's trump card, he probably wouldn't dare to act rashly. At this time, Xiaoying stood up and told the people around him to keep an eye on a figure. Let me see how terrifying you, the legendary Thunder King, are. When these words were spoken, the crowd was in an uproar. Heavens, Xiaoying actually wanted to fight the Thunder King. These two people were both double champions who had been asleep for tens of thousands of years, and had now awakened. The battle between these two people was absolutely terrifying. The Thunder King also stood up and snorted coldly. As you wish. The Thunder King's lightning was very terrifying. It was as if he had turned into a thunder god. On the other side, Xiaoying's figure was blurry. He should be an expert of the speed illusion type. In the next moment, Xiaoying moved. In an instant he formed 3 phantoms and directly attacked the Thunder King. He tore apart the Thunder King's sea of lightning. The laws in his hands turned into sharp blades and mercilessly slashed down. The Thunder King roared angrily. His palms split open the sky and turned into 2 thunder mountains. The large hammers bombarded in all directions. A deafening sound rang out. The surrounding people were shocked. Lin Xian was also surprised. It seemed that Xiaoying's strength was stronger than before. It seemed that the other party had obtained a Bodhi fruit before and didn't use it anymore. The Bodhi fruit was very precious. The power contained in one was very terrifying. Xiaoying's strength had greatly increased. Did the Thunder King have any fortuitous encounters? The Thunder King roared. His Thunder King's lightning contained a violent and destructive power. Moreover, he was an expert who had awakened from a deep slumber. How could he be weak? At this moment, his attack contained earth-shattering power. Thunder interweaved in the sky as if it was going to destroy the world. On the other side, Xiaoying was like a ghost. He held a shadow divine saber in his hand and swept across the sky. The two were evenly matched in the battle. Xiaoying seemed to be suppressed. The surrounding people were discussing spiritedly. That was indeed the case. It seemed that the Thunder King was sweeping in all directions. Xiaoying just kept dodging and occasionally struck out a few moves. However, Lin Xian frowned. He could see that the Thunder King's situation was very bad. In such a top-level battle, with such a terrifying consumption, the Thunder King had probably fallen into a trap. More importantly, Xiaoying definitely hadn't used his full strength. He was waiting. Therefore, Lin Xian felt that the Thunder King was probably going to lose this battle. Seeing Lin Xian shake his head, the He-Tu's daughter was stunned. Then he said, "It's boring to watch the battle. Let's continue." By now, he could see that the one who had beaten him back then was probably Lin Xian. However, he didn't attack Lin Xian because he felt that Lin Xian could also enter the top 10. He was waiting for the final battle of the top 10. Now he wanted to eliminate the others. The dog-headed Taoist didn't seem interested in the He-Tu's daughter's attack. He just ate and drank. However, someone had their eyes on him. A person with a ferocious expression floated over like a demon and attacked the dog-headed Taoist. Lin Xian was also curious. What was this dog-headed Taoist's background? The other party seemed to have a very powerful trump card. Lin Xian also wanted to continue attacking because a veteran of the sacred clan had his eyes on him. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison had a very terrifying poison on him. If other sacred lords were to encounter him, they would turn into a pool of blood. It was very terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the battle started again. The dog-headed Taoist was the first to finish the battle. The dog-headed Taoist saw someone attacking. He was furious. "Damn it. Woof woof, I'll swallow you." He opened his bloody mouth and swallowed the world. The king ghost was swallowed up. The next moment he burped. Everyone was stunned. Was it over just like that? It shouldn't be. With the king ghost's strength, it could definitely tear apart the dog-headed Taoist's body and kill its way out. However, after waiting for a long time, they realized that it was extremely quiet. There was no sign of the king ghost. Chapter 5394. Wang Gui's defeat was shocking. At the same time, the outcome of the battle on the other side was also decided. Countless people exclaimed. They didn't expect the Thunder King to be defeated. This was really too surprising for them. One had to know how strong the Thunder King was. He swept through the 8 barren lands and even suppressed Xiaoying to the point that he couldn't fight back. But now, the Thunder King was the one who was defeated. This Xiaoying was incredible. He had hidden his strength too deeply. Many people exclaimed, burning incense, and the others frowned. They were all experts who had awakened from their slumber, and their strength was about the same. But now, Xiaoying exploded with such terrifying strength. It was obvious that he had obtained many opportunities before. With a victorious smile, Xiaoying returned to the stairway. He had obtained the 2 Bodhi fruits previously. How could he not be strong? This time he could definitely enter the top 10. He even felt that he could fight for the top 3. Lin Xian had already guessed that the Thunder King would be defeated. So he wasn't surprised. He stared at the old man in front of him. The old man was wearing a green robe, and his body was poisonous. He smiled. "Kid, admit defeat obediently. Otherwise, you will turn into a pool of blood in my hands." Lin Xian sneered. Seeing Lin Xian's disdainful expression, the myriad poison Saint Tomb snorted and stretched out his hand. The palm was poisonous. Even the divine ancestor didn't dare to fight back. He directly enveloped Lin Xian. This myriad poison Saint Lord wasn't ordinary. His poison was terrifying. The spectators exclaimed. If one was touched by the poison, they would die. They didn't know how Lin Wudi was going to fight back. Although his physique was miraculous, he was afraid that it would not be able to completely withstand the poison. As soon as they arrived, the sounds of discussion could be heard. Lin Xian's body flashed. He used Shadowless Heaven's net and disappeared. With this palm strike, The place where he was originally standing turned into a black hole. It was corroded by the poison. Lin Wuti dodged. He didn't use his divine body to fight back. This meant that his divine body couldn't block the poison either. Countless exclamations rang out. The eyes of the 10,000 Dragon Dynasty's people were filled with killing intent. This kid was going to die in this battle. For example, the people from the Golden Crow clan were also sneering. Sure enough, Lin Xian kept dodging, and the 10,000 poisons in the sky kept descending. Every strike caused a black hole to appear in the void. One could only imagine how terrifying he was. After 10 moves, the myriad poisons Saint snorted coldly. Kid, you don't even have the courage to fight? Even if you keep running, you will be defeated one day. Lin Xian stopped and looked ahead. Escape? You're wrong. I'm waiting for you to use your ultimate move. 10 moves have already passed. Your strength is only SOSO. Then this battle could end. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison was infuriated. Are you looking down on me? He snorted coldly, and the power in his body exploded once again, sweeping through the surroundings. Since that's the case, I'll let you know how powerful I am. The universe of poison. Kid, I've used this poison to destroy 5 worlds in an instant. Let's see how you'll block it. A black ball of light appeared in his hand. There were extremely terrifying laws revolving around it, and even some terrifying ones were emerging. The surrounding people all felt their scalps go numb. They all retreated, and even used their laws to block. They knew that the myriad poison Saint was going to use his ultimate move. This time, Lin Xian was really going to die. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian didn't dodge at all. He didn't even move. His right eye, the Rinnegan, was completely open. Reincarnation spirit destruction. An extremely terrifying light suddenly erupted from his eye, like an aurora lighting up the night sky. In an instant, everyone's souls were about to be extinguished. The sacred ancestor of myriad poison on the opposite side screamed. Before he could use his universe of poison, he fell on his back. Just now his soul was severely injured. His soul cracked, and the pain almost made him die. In the next instant, he turned into a white light and disappeared. Was it over? Everyone was stunned. He had ended the battle with a single glance. Had this guy's eye techniques become even more terrifying than before? Many people stared at Lin Xian, their scalps going numb. If they were the ones facing this kind of eye technique, would they be able to withstand it? It seemed that in the future, when facing Lin Wuti, the first thing they needed to do was defend their souls. How pitifully weak. Lin Xian shook his head and turned around. The battle continued. The Fire Qilin began to search for enemies to fight. On the other side, Yao Guang also began to attack. His appearance caused everyone to lower their heads. They were terrified. Please don't choose me. No one wanted to become an enemy of a light-shaking realm cultivator. Yao Guang turned around and stared at Lin Xian. He narrowed his eyes. There were rules to the competition. Although he could freely challenge anyone, those who had just finished fighting were protected by the rules and couldn't continue to fight. As such, Yao Guang had no choice but to choose Lin Xian. However, his lips curled up as he stared at another figure on the sky staircase. Rainbow Phoenix, your bloodline should be quite good. Come out and fight. Everyone was stunned. What? He actually chose Morong Qingcheng. Even Morong Qingcheng frowned. Lin Xian's pupils contracted. He suddenly stood up and stared at Yao Guang. Are you looking to die? Yao Guang laughed. Are you worried that I'm going to attack your woman? Don't worry. I'll kill him first, then send you to hell. You'll be reunited there very soon. His laugh was extremely cruel. Damn, this guy was too arrogant. The dark red dragon also gnashed its teeth. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with killing intent. He looked at Morong Qingcheng. However, she said, Brother Xian, I can handle this one. Be careful. Lin Xian is worried. Morong Qingcheng nodded. I don't have confidence in defeating him, but it's also impossible for him to swallow me. Morong Qingcheng walked out of the extreme path realm. The people outside were also in an uproar. They were surprised that the Rainbow Phoenix was in danger. Yao Guang was probably going to swallow another peerless expert. The Rainbow Phoenix was Lin Wuti's woman. Yao Guang was obviously targeting Lin Wuti. Countless voices rang out. The people from the Purple Mansion sneered, while the people from the Divine Union were extremely worried. The people from the Phoenix clan had also arrived. The old Phoenix squinted at the array light screen in front of him. Would Qingcheng lose? He didn't think so. He had confidence in Qingcheng. The Rainbow Phoenix was a very ancient and mysterious bloodline of the Phoenix clan. It wouldn't be defeated so easily. The emissary from Mount Eternal sneered at the end. Good idea. It seems like we have to kill Lin Wuti's companions first. She stared at Yen Ruyu, the dark red dragon, and the others. Lin Xian was completely enraged. Chapter 5395. Lin Xian's voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. The surrounding people were also surprised. Heavens, Lin Wuti still wanted to fight? It was too unbelievable. He had just finished a battle and hadn't fully recovered yet, but he wanted to continue fighting. There were rules. For people like Lin Xian, they had just finished a battle and others couldn't challenge him. But he could challenge them. Under normal circumstances, no one would do so, because those who were still here were all top-notch experts. Fighting with such people would consume a lot of energy in every battle, so they had to recover quickly. If they couldn't fully recover, they would be at a disadvantage in the next battle. Now Lin Xian didn't care about this at all, and wanted to challenge the third emissary. The third emissary sneered after hearing this. Couldn't wait to die? I'll fulfill your wish. He flew out and sneered. I'm afraid you don't dare. If you don't dare, you think too highly of yourself. Lin Xian rose into the air and went directly to the battlefield. He was completely angry. These people wanted to attack his companions. He couldn't stand it. He would send the 10 emissaries of Mount Eternal to hell. It was a shocking battle. The battle between Yao Guang and Morong Qingcheng, and the battle between Lin Xian and the third emissary were all exceptional battles. They all watched with wide eyes. The third emissary sneered. Kid, don't try to use your eye techniques to attack me, because my soul is also terrifying. A black light appeared in his eyes. A monstrous soul power swept out. Countless people were surprised. What a terrifying soul aura. It seemed that Lin Wuti had met his match this time. His soul was powerful, but it was unknown who was stronger between him and the third emissary. The third emissary sneered. Inextinguishable flame. He unleashed a terrifying soul flame and charged over. Everyone quickly retreated and defended their souls. The aura emitted by this flame attack made them feel as if they were facing a great enemy. Inextinguishable flame swept through the sky and enveloped Lin Xian. The surrounding people sneered. This kid was going to be unlucky. The people of Mount Eternal snorted coldly. That was for sure. The soul of the 30th emissary was terrifying. It was called the Inextinguishable Eye, and it was definitely not something that the kid could resist. With a boom, the world spun, and the phantoms of 6 worlds surrounded Lin Xian. It blocked the inextinguishable flame. Lin Xian raised his head and closed his left eye. The Rinnegan bloomed with a terrifying light. There were mysterious laws and runes circling it. So what if it was the inextinguishable eye? Be destroyed. With a furious roar, an illusory eye appeared in the sky. A hand of the heavens stretched out from the eye and slapped down. Boom, boom, boom. The undying flames in the surroundings were all slapped away, and some were even extinguished. Everyone was shocked. What a terrifying eye technique attack. Is this the legendary Rinnegan eye? It was really terrifying. Rinnegan or immortal eyes, which one is stronger? Everyone was Xian. The third messenger also stared coldly at the other party's eyes. Rinnegan? So what? It's just an eye. Can it block my undying eye? Inextinguishable eye, blade of the soul. The black runes in his eyes rotated and then condensed to form 2 blades of the soul. The terrifying light slashed forward. The blade of the soul was thousands of meters long and carried an incomparably terrifying message. It could easily split the soul of a divine ancestor in half. At this moment, everyone cried out in alarm. The people watching the battle outside were also shocked. Mount Eternal was too terrifying. Each of the 10 emissaries was incomparably terrifying. They were double champions, and each of them had a different power. What kind of person stood behind Mount Eternal? Even the people from the imperial clans were frowning deeply. Yenryu, the dark red divine dragon, and the others all sucked in a breath of cold air. They couldn't help but worry about Lin Xian. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the two blades of the soul that slashed at him. He snorted coldly. Reincarnation tunnel. There was a cracking sound under the ground. Two huge shields rose into the air and blocked in front of Lin Xian. With a boom, the blade of the soul slashed on the reincarnation shield, emitting an earth-shaking sound. Countless laws circled around, causing the entire valley to shake violently. Everyone was shocked. Could he block it? The second emissary narrowed his eyes. The third emissary's blade of the soul was very terrifying. That kid definitely couldn't block it. The others also thought so. However, when the light disappeared, they were stunned. They found that the reincarnation shield was standing there without any cracks at all. It actually blocked the attack in the soul. Damn it. How was that possible? The second emissary was shocked. The third emissary's face was also cold. Lin Xian stood behind the reincarnation shield and laughed. Is that your attack? You can't even break my soul defense. Too weak. Too weak. Hearing this, the surrounding people went crazy. Who would dare to say such a thing? Even those veteran divine ancestors were sweating cold sweat. Only Lin Xian dared to say such a thing. However, Lin Xian did have the qualifications because he blocked such a terrifying soul attack. Despicable kid. Are you challenging me? Well, I'll let you see my strongest soul ability. The third emissary was also completely furious. He kept forming seals with his hands. In his eyes, black runes jumped rapidly, and then turned into a magical pattern. Eternal eyes, darkness descended. A cold voice sounded. At this moment, the sky and the earth turned into darkness. It seemed that even the light had disappeared. Even those supreme weapons were surprised. It was a little interesting. The people watching the battle outside exclaimed in shock. Their array formation's light screen was pitch black. They couldn't even see their fingers if they stretched out their hands. They couldn't see anything. The people of Mount Eternal laughed. It was too good that darkness had descended. This time, Lin Wuti could really go and die. They had absolute confidence in this move. In the darkness, the third emissary's cold voice sounded. Lin Wuti, you should be proud of yourself for being able to die under this move. There was an extremely terrifying power in the darkness that rushed over. Everyone felt their hair stand on end. They couldn't see it, but they could feel it. Under this soul attack, no matter how strong a person was, it would be difficult to resist. This time, Lin Xian was really in danger. Lin Xian stood in the darkness. Her brows were tightly knitted together. The other party's eternal eyes were indeed terrifying. Was it the strongest absolute art? He snorted coldly and formed seals with his palms. The reincarnation I bloomed again. Reincarnation human path. As soon as his voice fell, the right eye of the reincarnation, I began to spread with the eye as the center. At this moment, Lin Xian seemed to have turned into the king of reincarnation. The reincarnation fist. This was not a fist technique of the Six Paths sect, but a fist technique formed by the power of reincarnation in the reincarnation eye. Together with Lin Xian's divine body, it was extremely powerful at this moment. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into a true reincarnation body. Boom. Chapter 5396. Darkness descended, and the entire world turned black, as if it was ink. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. However, at this time, a roar sounded, followed by the shaking of the void. Then, the darkness was pierced through, and a ray of light shone in. Then, countless cracks appeared in the darkness, and with a crack, it shattered like glass. The whole space was completely broken. This scene was really too shocking. The darkness in front of everyone's eyes became bright in an instant. The third emissary vomited blood and flew backward. He covered his eyes and screamed. His voice was miserable. It made people's scalps tingle. Heaven, it was Lin Wuti. They saw in the broken darkness a person like a peerless god of war sweeping through the 8 wastelands. It was Lin Wuti. Lin Wuti broke the darkness. Countless exclamations sounded, and the people of Mount Eternal went crazy. This was impossible. These people roared crazily. The darkness was so terrifying that the other party could break it. What kind of power was this? Lin Xian was also surprised. This reincarnation, the human path, was really terrifying. Lin Xian snorted coldly. So what if you have the undying eyes? You are still not my opponent. You have lost this battle. It stepped in the air and rushed forward. The third emissary's soul was injured. His eyes were closed and he roared crazily. Damn it, I won't lose. He waved his hands. The undying law on his body burned in an instant, and he turned into a flaming figure. The black undying fire jumped, and a terrifying power erupted in an instant. Heaven, his burning law, was he going to go all out? Countless people exclaimed. The power of the third emissary increased exponentially, and he attacked recklessly. Go to hell. Turning into a bolt of lightning, he rushed over and killed Lin Xian. So what if the other party had a divine body? So what if he had the Rinnegan? He had already begun to burn his life. He didn't believe that the other party would dare to fight with him. The second emissary frowned tightly. It was really beyond his expectations to be able to make the third emissary go all out. However, the effect of going all out was also very good. At least now the third emissary's strength had really become too strong. His entire body turned into a fire god phantom. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He formed a seal with his palms, and boundless demonic energy gathered. A demonic shadow appeared behind him. True devil, heaven-covering hand. The demonic shadow behind him struck out with a palm. The palm kept growing bigger and bigger, as if it had turned into a part of the sky and was pressing down. In the blink of an eye, it hit the flame and the figure. A clang, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. That figure let out a miserable cry. No. He was suppressed by the black palm and fell down. He wanted to resist and escape, but under this palm, he couldn't escape at all. In the end, he was suppressed. A violent explosion rang out. Everyone looked at the scene in shock. Lin Xian was using the great emperor's ancient scripture. Moreover, he had cultivated it to such a profound level. The demonic shadow behind him made countless people feel as if they were facing a great enemy. When the people of Mount Eternal saw it, their pupils shrank. The second emissary was shocked, and even the first emissary turned around at this moment. A terrifying light burst out from his eyes as he stared at the demonic figure. He was actually able to summon such an existence. For the first time, killing intent appeared in his eyes. He couldn't allow such a person to live. If he had the chance to kill him, he couldn't let him live. The second emissary took a deep breath after hearing this. He said, "Boss, I know." The black palm in the sky slowly disappeared, and the void returned to normal. However, the third emissary's figure was long gone. He had been eliminated. Was he eliminated again? Only 2 emissaries of Mount Eternal were left now. Quite a few of them had been eliminated by Lin Xian. That was simply unbelievable. The people of Mount Eternal gritted their teeth. Damn Lin Wudi. They must kill him. The demonic chi on Lin Xian's body disappeared. His face was cold. This battle should be able to intimidate some people. As he returned to the stairway to heaven, he turned his head and looked into the distance. The battle there had also ended. The fire Qilin had defeated the enemy and won. However, Lin Xian was most concerned about Murong Qingqing's battle. The battle between Murong Qingqing and Yao Guang was very terrifying. The 7-colored phoenix swept through the world. The phantom of the phoenix roared in the sky. On the other side, the Yao Guang had many kinds of divine abilities on his body. The Yi clan's immortal king phantom, the Gu clan's void divine ability, and even the Golden Crow clan's flames. The Wind clan's storm and the 5 elements clan's 5 elements power. There was really too much power. Everyone was shocked. How many experts had the Yao Guang clan swallowed over the years? However, the most terrifying thing was the power of the primal chaos. It could split heaven and earth, making people think that the primal chaos physique had been revived. However, Murong Qingqing was not weak either. It could even be said that she was very strong. The phantom of the phoenix on her body swept through the world, and all kinds of divine abilities appeared. Heavenly phoenix palm, flaming phoenix finger, divine phoenix fist, all kinds of divine phoenix technique. It blocked the Yao Guang clan's attack. For a moment, the two sides were evenly matched. The heavens were too unbelievable. Was this the seven-colored phoenix? It was really terrifying. No wonder the Phoenix clan valued it so much. Countless people were shocked. They knew that the Phoenix clan had the daughter of the Emperor Fengjiu. However, she seemed to be cultivating in seclusion and had not appeared. Under normal circumstances, if there was a princess, she would be nurtured with all her strength. However, the Phoenix clan was different. Not only were they nurturing Fengjiu, but they were also nurturing Morong Qingcheng. Because Morong Qingcheng was a seven-colored phoenix, she had a very special status in the Phoenix clan. The seven-colored phoenix was incredibly mysterious. Outsiders only had a rough idea of who she was. Now that they had seen Morong Qingcheng's strength, they finally understood why the Phoenix clan valued her so much. Because she was too strong. She wasn't any weaker than the Empress at all. Yao Guang was the double-crown champion and had swallowed many divine abilities. Even so, she was still unable to suppress Morong Qingcheng. It was easy to imagine just how frightening she was. Morong Qingcheng's expression was incredibly serious. In reality, she had already used all of her strength. Even so, they were only tied. It was impossible for her to defeat her. In addition, Yao Guang's expression was still quite calm. She didn't know if she still had any trump cards up her sleeve. Yao Guang's expression also sank. She hadn't expected her opponent to be so difficult to deal with. The Nine Firmaments Sub-Emperor's voice sounded out in her mind. Stop fighting. You really can defeat her. However, if you use these trump cards now, others will be careful. When the time comes, the effect won't be as good. I understand. Yao Guang nodded. Her goal was to be number one, so devouring her wasn't that important. He wanted to preserve a few of his ultimate moves and trump cards, waiting for the most critical moment to make his move. After all, whether it was the Born Dao Aptitude, Lin Wudi, or the number one emissary, they were all her greatest enemies. She couldn't be careless. She stopped and said, I'll spare your life this time. Chapter 5397. Yao Guang walked back, shocking the people around her. They didn't expect him to give up on the seven-colored phoenix. She was Morong Qingcheng? She was indeed powerful. When the experts outside saw this, their faces were filled with shock. They stared at the Phoenix clan's elder phoenix with confusion and shock. The Phoenix clan actually had such an expert. The elder phoenix and the experts of the Phoenix clan were delighted. They knew that Morong Qingcheng wouldn't be defeated so easily. All the other geniuses looked at Morong Qingcheng with envy on their faces. If they could be with such a fairy, they would be lucky. But they knew that Lin Wudi was probably the only one who could match up to such a peerless genius. The other experts in the Extreme Path Valley also stared at Morong Qingcheng. It seemed that they had overlooked an expert. They had to be careful when they met her in the future. The dog-head cultivator's eyes also lit up. He stared at Morong Qingcheng. He kept shaking his wok. This was a phoenix. He didn't know if it tasted good. Hearing that, Lin Xian turned around and glared at him. A trace of killing intent appeared in his eyes. At the same time, a terrifying soul aura appeared. Even the dog-head cultivator was shocked. He chuckled. It was just a joke. He wouldn't eat it. However, he would eat someone else. He turned his head and looked at another proud daughter of heaven beside him. She was the daughter of the river diagram. The dog-head cultivator's eyes also lit up. I didn't expect your bloodline to be so extraordinary. Looks like you're not an ordinary human. You should be a strange beast of heaven and earth in the heavenly river. I think you must be very delicious to eat. Hearing that, the daughter of the river diagram's face darkened. You damn dog, what did you say? Do you believe me? I'll tear your mouth apart. The daughter of the river diagram glared at him. Killing intent appeared in her eyes. He actually dared to have ideas about her. How despicable. He took a step forward. The water in the sky swept out like the Milky Way. At that moment, the surrounding people were also shocked. Was another battle about to happen? Taoist dog coldly harumphed. Did he think he was afraid of him? Today, I'll let you know Elder Dog's prowess. He waved his paw and slapped over. The entire area turned dark. It was as if a black mountain had swept across the heavens and earth, colliding with the other party's seawater. Wherever the two of them passed, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Everything was reduced to ashes. The surrounding people were extremely shocked. These two people were indeed terrifying. There were also some people who gritted their teeth. This dog head was too abominable. It wanted to eat everyone it saw. He wondered if he could eliminate him. I think it's possible. The origin of this daughter of the river diagram is very mysterious. She is definitely related to the strong warriors of the celestial river. Countless voices of discussion rang out, and the eyes of the experts of the older generation outside flickered. They were also watching the battle. At the same time, they were also guessing the origins of these two people. The daughter of the river diagram should be the descendant of the master in the celestial river. His bloodline was definitely extraordinary. But what was the identity and background of this dog head? It was so strange, and it dared to be so arrogant. Those Monarch clan experts asked each other for information, but they discovered that they actually didn't know either. For a moment, they were even more curious. In the extreme path valley, after the attack, the daughter of the river diagram retreated. He was shocked. Although this dog head was abominable, his strength couldn't be underestimated. The dog-headed Taoist was even more shocked. You are indeed strong. When I eat you, you will definitely be even more delicious. She laughed loudly and rushed out, the white bone in her hand slashing down in the air. There was a terrifying murderous aura on the white bone. It was too terrifying, as if it could suppress everything. The daughter of the river diagram also shouted angrily. She waved her hand, and the silver river danced in the sky, spinning rapidly as if it had turned into a sky map. It spun in the air, and a mysterious light enveloped the white bone, trying to seal it. The two collided again. The divine might was vast and mighty. The surrounding people sucked in a breath of cold air and retreated. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. To be honest, these two people were very strong. Even he couldn't tell at that moment. However, he was more curious about the dog-headed Taoist. He didn't know if the other party had any trump cards. Is that all you've got? Then against Master Dog, you're really not enough. Devouring the heavens and the earth. At that moment, the dog-headed Taoist shouted angrily. He opened his bloody mouth and rushed forward. The void boiled, and the silver river spun in reverse. It was as if it was about to evaporate. This made everyone's scalp go numb. Could this guy really swallow an entire world? Why did it feel like he was the same as Yao Guang? Previously, they had seen Yao Guang use the devouring vortex to swallow people. Seeing this scene again, they were also terrified. Yao Guang narrowed his eyes and snorted coldly. He knew that the other party's strength was different from his. Although they were both swallowing, he was forcefully obtaining the other party's bloodline and superpower. However, the dog-headed Taoist seemed to only want to eat. Moreover, the demonic heaven-devouring skill was a forbidden martial art. It was impossible for others to obtain power through swallowing. At that moment, the dog-headed Taoist was very strange. His head became extremely terrifying, and under his bloody mouth, even the sky was trembling. The clouds continued to split apart, and cracks appeared on the surrounding mountain peaks. One could imagine how terrifying this attack was. The daughter of the river diagram's face changed. She used the river diagram to block it. However, the river diagram could not seal the other party. It was even swallowed by the other party. The daughter of the river diagram was sent flying while vomiting blood. Her face became extremely pale. She really didn't expect that the other party would be able to devour her exceptional divine ability. At that moment, she was also injured. The dog-headed Taoist snorted coldly. He opened his bloody mouth again and bit over. The daughter of the river diagram's face was pale. If she was swallowed by the other party, it would be difficult for her to escape. She might even be eaten by the other party as food. She did not want that to happen. Damn dog-headed Taoist, I will remember you. Just you wait. The daughter of the river diagram said unwillingly. In the next moment, she crushed the protective jade pendant. Her body turned into white light and disappeared. Was she defeated? Countless people did not expect that the terrifying daughter of the river diagram would be defeated. The powerhouses outside were also shocked. One had to know that she was the descendant of that peerless powerhouse. How could she stop at the top 10? The dog-headed Taoist snorted coldly. "Little girl, you ran fast." As he said that, he sneezed and vomited river water that filled the sky. This was formed by the river diagram from before. The monstrous river drowned the 9 heavens. This dog-headed Taoist was too powerful. They must not offend him. Yes, he had the strength to reach the top 10. He could even reach the top 5. Voices of discussion sounded one after another. No one would dare to attack the dog-headed Taoist in a short period of time, right? At that moment, another figure walked out. He was the second emissary of Mount Eternal. The murderous intent on his body was even more terrifying. He was like a killing god. He did not attack the dog-headed Taoist. Instead, he stared at another figure. "Lin Wudi, I will let you know what regret is." As he said that, he pointed at Yin Ryu. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.